Chapter 2966. Luo Qingtong glanced at her but didn't say anything. Instead, she looked at the family Ji elders and said, "I can prove that Ji Feiyu is innocent. However, I want Ji Fighting to make a new oath. When we were at the edge of the Dongting region, we once proposed to prove our innocence. At that time, it was very convenient to travel between the Dongting region and the Star Wilderness region, but Ji Fighting refused. He even said that he absolutely trusted us. Now he's saying that it's just a one-sided story. I want to know, what's his motive? If Ji Fighting dares to swear that when he said that, he had no selfish motives or calculations, I'll admit that I have an affair with Ji Feiyu. If you want to kill me or cut me up, it's up to the family Ji." As for Ji Feiyu and the others, Luo Qingtong looked at Ji Feiyu. The latter didn't say anything. He just said with a resolute and decisive expression, "I'll also be at the disposal of the family. It's up to you to extract my meridians and let my blood out, cut my flesh and return my bones." As soon as she said that, everyone's eyes immediately focused on Ji Fighting. The latter frowned slightly as he looked at Luo Qingtong. He felt that this woman was indeed very difficult to deal with. Why did she always choose to open her mouth at the most crucial moment? Usually, when others encountered such a trap, they would only feel that it was impossible to defend themselves. However, the other party quickly found the most crucial point from his words. Every time she opened her mouth, she killed his soldiers. Originally, if Luo Qingtong opened her mouth from somewhere else, no matter what she said, Ji Fighting would have a corresponding explanation to ensure that his words sounded flawless on the surface. However, every word and sentence pointed directly to the fact that Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu did indeed have an affair. At that time, he was absolutely not afraid to confront Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu. However, at this time, Luo Qingtong avoided other points and only focused on whether he had an ulterior motive. Ji Fighting really didn't dare to say that he didn't. Immediately, his face darkened. Lady Xiaoqi is really good at reading people's minds. He looked at Luo Qingtong and said indifferently, "Everyone has their own selfish motives. Eldest cousin and I belong to two different branches, although we are not enemies. But if you say that there is no selfishness between us, then I really can't do it." When he said that, Luo Qingtong immediately smiled. This Ji Fighting was quite interesting. This move of retreating in order to advance was well used. First, he said that everyone had selfish motives. Then, he said that he had selfish motives, but he didn't want to hurt Ji Feiyu. In this way, he refuted Luo Qingtong's words that made him swear. She also made everyone think that Luo Qingtong was scheming and deliberately set up a language trap to make Ji Fighting swear to frame him. Sure enough, after hearing Ji Fighting's words, the family Ji's elders looked at Luo Qingtong with even more disgust. This woman is really scheming and vicious. I can guarantee that she definitely got close to Ji Feiyu on purpose so that Mo Zhuling would break off the engagement and she could climb up the social ladder. Look at her aura, she's only at the Sage Master realm. She's simply trash. Isn't that right? She's probably at the bottom of the 9-star domain. I really don't know which small family she's from. When she saw that Ji Feiyu and Mo Zhuling were engaged and that he couldn't cultivate, she took the opportunity to climb up the social ladder. Chapter 2967. Everyone was talking about it. Yan Nyang's face was red with anger as she listened. How shameless were these people? Did their master want to climb up the social ladder because of their family Ji's status and strength? They would be scared to death if they knew Yi Qianxin's background. Why would their master need to climb up the social ladder of a small 8-star region? Did these family Ji people have to be so arrogant? Moreover, his master's current strength was clearly because something unexpected happened, which was why it dropped to the sacred expert level. When their master's strength was so great, these family Ji people couldn't even catch up. Who else could be like their master, who broke through to the level of a sage master when she was only a 14-year-old martial master? Not to mention the family Ji disciples from the 8-star region, even the disciples from the 7-star and 6-star regions couldn't catch up to their master's level of strength. These family Ji people felt so good about themselves. Who gave them the confidence to diss their master like this? I'm so angry. Yen Yang was so angry that her hands were shaking. Her face was red, and her eyes were spitting fire. Chu Tianyi, listen to me. I don't care why you approached me and wanted to be with me. As long as you promise that you and the Chu family will respect our master, listen to her orders, and be her support, I will be with you. Otherwise, get out of my sight now and don't come near me again. Yen Yang was shaking with anger because of the family Ji. In the past, Luo Qingtong had protected her and Chu Lingfeng through so many hardships and dangers. Now, the family Ji people were dissing her like this. Luo Qingtong, but she couldn't do anything about it. She didn't want to continue like this. Who said that her master was only a young girl from a low-level 9-star region with no strength and influence? Who said that she could only climb up the social ladder of the family Ji? In the future, she would be her master's support. She would be her master's stepping stone. As long as her mistress was willing, she could kneel at her mistress's feet at any time and allow her to step on her and rise to the top. At that time, she would like to see who would dare to scold Luo Qingtong and say that she had no strength and influence. Yen Yang's eyes turned red while Chu Tianyi's eyes brightened. He didn't expect such a good thing to happen when he followed Luo Qingtong here. For the sake of Luo Qingtong, Yen Yang was actually willing to be with him. Although this kind of promise was completely to give Luo Qingtong a certain weight and support, and didn't really mean that she had forgiven him. However, it was still better than Yen Yang, who had always rejected him and ignored him. Chu Tianyi had been looking for an opportunity to help Luo Qingtong. What should he do if Yen Yang ignored him after he finished helping her? His identity had been exposed, and Yen Yang had suffered too much. She was not willing to open her heart and let him get close to her. No matter how much he did, she was always unwilling to believe him, and she didn't dare to believe him. But now, with Yen Yang's words, he could always be with her. Chu Tianyi dared to guarantee that as long as he had the chance to stay by Yen Yang's side, she would be moved by him sooner or later. Because he wasn't afraid that Yen Yang didn't know his true feelings. He was only afraid that Yen Yang wouldn't even give him a chance to express his true feelings. At that time, he would really have no other choice. With this thought, he agreed to Yen Yang's words without hesitation. As for what the Chu family would think, and whether they were willing to accept the fact that a young girl had surrendered to a 9-star region, he was too lazy to care. Chapter 2968. While Yen Yang and Chu Tianyi were whispering to each other, Luo Qingtong remained calm and unaffected by the family Ji's words. They were just a bunch of fools who were being played by Ji fighting. What was there to be concerned about? Luo Qingtong did not care about them at all. She looked at Ji fighting and smiled. Young Master Ji, you really know how to change the topic. I'm asking if you have any intention of scheming against Ji Feiyu. But you said that everyone has selfish motives. Although that's true, having selfish motives and having the intention to harm others are two different things. But I don't blame you if you don't dare to swear. After all, you and Ji Feiyu are enemies. The position of young master that you have should have belonged to him. You don't like him and want to scheme against him. It's normal for you to make him suffer or even die. But, at this point, Luo Qingtong's smile deepened and became colder. If that's the case, then young Master Ji shouldn't pretend to be so dignified and righteous. Because your hypocritical and pretentious face makes me feel nauseous and disgusted. As soon as she spoke, Ji Fighting's expression froze. Then, he looked at Luo Qingtong with a cold and malicious gaze. The other party's words hit the nail on the head. Every single one of her words hit him where it hurt. But so what if that was the case? Unless she could prove her and Ji Feiyu's innocence in this family Ji, there was no way she could turn the tables. Miss Xiao Qi. Ji Fighting's expression was cold and malicious. He looked at Luo Qingtong and said softly with an icy gaze, "Your clever mouth is really sharp. But if you have the time to study my intentions, why don't you prove your and Ji Feiyu's innocence first? Otherwise, Who knows if you and Ji Feiyu were prepared to prove your innocence? No matter what my intentions were, I did it for the good of the family Ji. But what about the two of you? As he spoke, he looked disdainfully at Luo Qingtong and said with extreme contempt and disdain, "Of the two of you, one of you is shameless and hooked up with someone who is engaged. The other disregarded the engagement, the family, and has no sense of responsibility or family interests. Even if the two of you swear, why should I believe what you said?" At this point, Ji Fighting finally tore off his mask. He was too lazy to pretend to be humble and polite and gentle. So what if he schemed against Ji Feiyu and Luo Qingtong? He deliberately did not give them a chance to prove their innocence. But so what? Even if they proved it at that time, Ji Fighting could refute it by saying that they came prepared. In short, he was not going to let Ji Feiyu and the others walk out of the family Ji safely today. But now, Luo Xiaoqi had to be included. He wanted to see how this sharp-tongued and quick-witted girl would break out of this deadlock. Everyone was on their side. How could Luo Qingtong prove her innocence? She would not be able to walk out of the family Ji today. Ji Fighting snorted coldly and waved his hand, ordering people to close the door of the main courtyard of the ancestral hall. Chapter 2969. Ji Feiyu's pupils constricted. He rushed to Luo Qingtong's side and stood in front of her. "Ji Fighting, don't go too far." "As you wish." "Let her go immediately." Ji Feiyu regretted it. He should not have agreed to let Luo Qingtong come. Who would have thought that Ji Fighting and the others would be so impatient? Ji Feiyu originally thought that since his blood curse was beneficial to Luo Qingtong, it would be fine for her to come along. At most, he would announce that he could cultivate and gain the support of the elders. At that time, Ji Fighting and the others might not be able to do anything to them. However, no one expected that Ji Fighting and the others would immediately head to Star Alliance to bring him back after sending the news to Star Alliance. In the ancestral hall, they had already prepared a battle array, not giving him a chance to catch his breath at all. They swore to beat him to the bottom of the valley. That's right. Ji Fighting and the others had been in charge of the family Ji for some time. To them, the existence of the direct descendants of the family Ji was like a thorn in their throats. They would not be happy if they did not get rid of it. How could they not make good use of such a good opportunity given to them? This confrontation in the ancestral hall was not only aimed at him, but also at the entire direct descendants of the family Ji. It was no wonder that he called his father and mother back. If not for the fact that his mother's family was not weaker than the family Ji and was even more tyrannical, Ji Fighting and the others would not even have to confront him in the ancestral hall and directly convict him of the crime. Ji Feiyu's eyes were filled with sorrow and mockery as he thought of this. He looked at Ji Fighting and the others and said in a low voice, "I'm willing to plead guilty. Let her go." Ji Feiyu already knew that Ji Fighting and the others had come prepared and would not allow them to defend themselves. He was not going to waste his breath on them. He could let Ji Fighting and the others deal with him. They could cut his meridians and bleed him. They could even cut his flesh and return his bones. As long as they let Luo Qingtong go. He did not want her to be implicated by him. He was willing to listen to them. As Ji Feiyu's voice rang out, Sueyu and the others' sorrowful cries could also be heard. "Young master." Their hearts were filled with grief and they almost rushed towards Ji Feiyu and the others without a care in the world. However, they were restrained by the guards who waved their hands. Ji Miao Miao sneered coldly. "Ji Feiyu, it's too late for you to say that. When I asked you to plead guilty, didn't you say that you were innocent? What? Now that you can't prove it, you want to sacrifice yourself and let this be *tch go? You're so infatuated. It's a pity that since she came to our family Ji today, she can forget about leaving. Our family Ji is not a place where any Tom, Dick or Harry can come and go as they please. Not to mention, this woman bewitched you and caused Mo Zhuling to break off the engagement. This is a great humiliation. Our family Ji will never let her off." Ji Feiyu's expression was smug and cold as she said this. At this moment, Yan Niang and Chu Tianyi, who were standing behind Luo Qingtong, were ready to make their move. Especially Chu Tianyi. After getting Yan Niang's promise to be with him, he was full of energy. He was only waiting for Luo Qingtong to give the order and he would immediately massacre the family Ji. Chapter 2970. Just as he was about to make a move, Luo Qingtong's voice rang out faintly. Miss Ji, you're probably deaf. I've already said that I can prove my innocence with Ji Feiyu. You probably think I'm joking? Ji Feiyu is standing in front of me because he's afraid that I'll embarrass you and make a move on me in anger. What? Why are you so impatient when you see it? As she spoke, she placed her hand on Ji Feiyu's sleeve and comforted him by holding his wrist through his sleeve, telling him not to be anxious. Then, Luo Qingtong stepped forward and said to Qin Xiong and the others behind Ji fighting, Qin Xiong, Commander Qin. It said that the news of my affair with Ji Feiyu and his annulment came from you. Can you come out and confront me? Let's confront. Who's afraid of you? Qin Xiong and the others felt a little guilty. However, they thought that Luo Qingtong had no evidence to prove that she had nothing to do with Ji Feiyu, and Ji fighting and the others were obviously biased towards them. No matter whether they were telling the truth or not, as long as they insisted that Luo Qingtong had something to do with Ji Feiyu and the others couldn't do anything to them. Luo Xiaoqi, this idiot, actually wanted to confront them. Did she think that she wasn't dying fast enough? Thinking of this, Qin Xiong and the others' guilty conscience immediately disappeared. Instead, they became inexplicably confident. They stood out from behind Ji fighting and the others and swore that there was indeed some kind of secret relationship between Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu. That was why Ji Feiyu repeatedly defended Luo Qingtong. During the proposal banquet, Mo Zhuling annulled the engagement. Who could prove that it had nothing to do with the affair between them? The group said so cunningly. Every word was a trap, avoiding the most important point. This made people suddenly think that Luo Qingtong was completely promiscuous, shameless, and wantonly seducing Luo Qingtong. They originally wanted to deal with Luo Qingtong and get rid of her for the family Ji, but in the end, they were stopped by Ji Feiyu. Otherwise, the family Ji wouldn't have suffered such a great loss. The group said so and suddenly, they burst into tears. Not only did they slander Luo Qingtong, but they also expressed their loyalty to Ji and the others. As they spoke, the family Ji's elders all glared at Luo Qingtong. Luo Xiaoqi, what do you have to say? As they spoke, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She said to the family Ji's people, "This is your family Ji's territory. How can I believe that they are speaking from the bottom of their hearts and not being coerced by your family Ji's people? After all, you can put on such a show in order to deal with the direct descendants of the family Ji. It's hard for me not to suspect that you did something to them to make them angry but not dare to say anything. In this case, even if I can prove my innocence, what can I do? Everything is still up to your family Ji, isn't it?" Pfft. Ji Miao Miao sneered. This Luo Xiaoqi wasn't too stupid. She knew that everything was up to the family Ji. But she actually thought that Qin Xiong and the others were coerced by them, so they said that. This was simply ridiculous. But since she thought so and wanted to prove her innocence through Qin Xiong and the others, then she would fulfill her wish. After all, it was rare to see people who took the initiative to court death. Chapter 2971. With that thought in mind, Ji Miao Miao turned to Luo Qingtong and asked, "What do you want? Do you want them to go outside the family Ji and tell everyone about the affair between you and Ji Feiyu?" "I don't mind. I'm just afraid that you won't dare." As she said this, she looked at Ji Feiyu and the others with contempt and disdain. The latter and the others did not hesitate at all. "I dare. I'll listen to little seven." There was no hesitation on Ji Feiyu's face. He trusted Luo Qingtong completely. Although it was obvious that this was a dead end. As long as Luo Qingtong said that she could do it, he would believe her without hesitation. Ji Yuansheng and Li Shi did not hesitate at all. They would always put their son first. Moreover, things had already come to this point. Whether they agreed or not, it would not affect the family G's people to deal with them. Since that was the case, what was there to care about? When they agreed, Ji Fighting's brows furrowed. He looked at Ji Miao Miao and said disapprovingly, Miao Miao. Just as he spoke, before he could say anything, Luo Qingtong's chuckling voice was heard. What's wrong? Young Master Ji, are you feeling guilty? It seems that I don't need to prove my innocence. Because you don't dare to let them leave the family Ji's territory to publicize the affair between Ji Feiyu and me. If that's the case, how will you convict us? Luo Qingtong said this and said to Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuansheng, let's go, Feiyu, Uncle Ji. Young Master Ji has already proven our innocence. We don't need to do anything more. As she said this, she immediately prepared to leave the family Ji's ancestral hall with Ji Feiyu, Ji Yuansheng, and the others. Hearing this, Ji Fighting's frown deepened instantly. He could not help but wonder if Luo Qingtong was deliberately provoking Ji Miao Miao to do the opposite and target him. The purpose was to make him suspicious so that he could stop this from happening. In this way, Luo Qingtong and the others would be able to leave calmly. As Ji Fighting thought this, his face suddenly froze. At this moment, Ji Miao Miao's angry voice rang out. Luo, stop right there. Who says we're guilty and we don't dare to let them out? As she said this, she immediately gritted her teeth and lowered her head. She whispered to Ji Fighting, Big brother, don't be indecisive. This woman is very cunning. Just now, she used her schemes to make us suffer a few big losses. Are you really going to let Ji Feiyu and the others off? This is a rare opportunity's good opportunity. We can catch Uncle and the others in one go. Don't tell me you're out of your mind after scheming every day. As soon as she said this, Ji Fighting's conflicted expression immediately became even more serious. At this moment, Ji Yuankun spoke. Let her prove her innocence. As he said this, he immediately looked at Ji Yuansheng with a smile and said, Cousin, you know that I definitely don't want to wrongly accuse you. It's just that this matter concerns the family Ji's reputation in the future. I have to take it seriously. Since this woman says that she can prove her innocence with Feiyu, then I'll listen to her. However, if there's really no way to prove their innocence in the end, then cousin, don't blame us for offending you then. As for the gossip of others, I don't take it to heart. Chapter 2972. Ji Yuansheng sneered when he heard Ji Yuankun's words. It was indeed obvious to all. Ji Yuankun's family was best at acting. Ji Yuansheng didn't argue with them. In any case, no one would believe him even if he refuted. They walked out of the family Ji's ancestral hall. They saw the family Ji's people come out in such a grandiose manner. Everyone on the continent where the family Ji was located felt very strange. The family Ji was one of the most powerful families in the Dongting region. The continent where they were located was naturally one of the more prosperous places in the Dongting region. There were many people from other families who came and went here. They either passed by on business or stayed here for a long time to do business with the family Ji. In short, when they saw the family Ji's people walk out, they were all very curious. When they found out the reason, they were immediately in an uproar. Not because of anything else, but because this was a rare piece of gossip. The family Ji's good-for-nothing son had his engagement broken off by someone from the 9-star region. Not only that, but he also had an affair with someone else, and now he had to prove his innocence. The crowd immediately followed the family Ji's people to the central arena where the main city was located. When they arrived, Ji Feiyu and the others stood on one side, while Ji Fighting and the others stood on the other side. The remaining elders stood in the middle and looked at Qin Xiong and the others who were made way by the crowd. All right. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She looked at Qin Xiong and the others and said, Commander Qin, you can tell us what happened after you and Ji Feiyu went to the Star region. Don't be afraid. Now that the family Ji's people have taken you out of the family Ji's ancestral hall, no one can force you to say anything you don't know. Now, you can speak freely. Say everything you want to say. When Luo Qingtong spoke, Qin Xiong and the others looked at her as if they were looking at a fool. What kind of joke was this? What right did they have to be threatened by the family Ji? Those words were said by them to deal with Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu. Since Luo Qingtong didn't want them to be coerced, they could speak freely. Could it be that she had been scared silly by such a hopeless situation and had started to talk nonsense? That was what everyone thought. After all, everyone thought that Luo Qingtong was bluffing when she asked them to clarify the facts in the family Ji. She wanted to take the opportunity to force Ji Fighting and the others to retreat. Because no one would want to expose such a thing in front of the world. Perhaps Luo Qingtong wanted to make use of Ji Feiyu and the others' mentality to force them to give up on dealing with Ji Feiyu and the others. But she didn't expect Ji Fighting and the others to agree. In this way, if she failed to do the opposite, she would have no other choice. But now, she was still talking nonsense in front of everyone. Thinking this, Qin Xiong and the others looked at Luo Qingtong with disdain and complacency, saying, "Okay, I'll do as you wish. Everyone, let me tell you what happened. After young master and I went to the Star Wilderness, we met Luo Xiaoqi. She seemed to be seriously injured and fell in the starry sky. We thought we had found a treasure, so we forced her to tell us the whereabouts of the treasure. The more Qin Xiong and the others spoke, the more panicked they became. This was because they realized that what they wanted to say was completely different from what they had said. What was going on? Chapter 2973. Stop, stop. Qin Xiong and the others looked indescribably panicked. They desperately tried to stop the words from coming out of their mouths and tried their best to twist the matter back to what they had already planned to say. But no matter how hard they tried, those words were simply out of their control and kept coming out of their mouths. Everyone's foreheads were covered with sweat and they almost couldn't control the trembling in their hearts. Their minds went blank and they covered their mouths in embarrassment. But at this time, Luo Qingtong's expression was calm and she smiled. "Why don't you continue? I'm very interested to hear what you think. And what was the situation at that time? Why did you slander me and Ji Feiyu like this?" As she spoke, Chu Tianyi beside her released an invisible pressure, enveloping Qin Xiong and the others. With the strength of the latter and the others, how could they be Chu Tianyi's opponents? Naturally, they had no resistance and let him do whatever he wanted. Everyone's hands that were about to cover their mouths froze in place and they couldn't exert any strength at all. And their mouths, which were originally prepared to shut up, couldn't be closed anymore. They just kept talking about the scene at that time. We saw that Luo Xiaoqi was not strong at that time and she spoke up for young master and caused us to be punished, so we decided to kill her. But we were stopped by young master. Qin Xiong said with an extremely ferocious and vicious expression on his face to match his words. In fact, he was already crying in his heart. He struggled and shouted with all his might and didn't want to continue talking. But he didn't know why, as if he was possessed, he couldn't stop talking at all. At this time, he finally understood what Luo Qingtong meant when she said, "Let them speak freely." He didn't want to talk anymore. He really didn't want to talk anymore. It's over, this Luo Xiaoqi, is she a monster? How did she do this? Despair filled the hearts of Qin Xiong and the others. However, their faces were still extremely ferocious and vicious as they said, "However, young master is protecting Luo Xiaoqi in every possible way, not allowing us to do anything to her. In the end, he used himself as a hostage to make us give up on hunting Luo Xiaoqi. Our hearts are indignant." Coincidentally, young master's engagement was annulled. The 7-star Fields Lu family came to propose to Mo Zhuling. When we saw that the Lu clan was powerful, we ran away. At first, we thought that young master wouldn't be able to come back alive, so we lied to the family. It just so happens that young master and the others are also waiting for a rare opportunity to make a move on young master and the others. So we went with the flow. When Qin Xiong said "until here," he was already on the verge of fainting. He actually dared to say such words. It was over. Even if Luo Shaoqi didn't kill them now and let them leave, he could already foresee his miserable future. Young master and the rest wouldn't let him off. He actually said that the young master and the others wanted to deal with Ji Feiyu. Qin Xiong's body twitched for a while. At this time, Chu Tianyi released the pressure on them. The crowd immediately ran to Ji Fighting and the others, kneeling and kowtowing to them. Young master, family head, you have to make a decision for us. I don't know what kind of witchcraft this Luo Shaoqi used to make our hearts and mouths insincere. Chapter 2974. As soon as they said that, Luo Qingtong's voice suddenly sounded with a chuckle. So, do you want me to prove the truth of your words in public? Luo Qingtong looked at Ji Fighting and the others with a playful look. The latter and the others looked ugly. They didn't expect that Luo Qingtong had such a trick up her sleeve. They had no doubt that Qin Xiong and the others didn't want to say these words at all. After all, even if they were given 100 guts, they wouldn't dare to slander them in front of so many people. Not to mention, they also overturned what they had said before. Weren't they digging their own graves? Unless Qin Xiong and the others were tired of living. Otherwise, they would never have dared to say so. Therefore, Luo Qingtong was the one who controlled them to say these words. Thinking so, the crowd suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong fiercely. Ji Miaomiao's voice was sharp. Luo Shaoqi. No wonder you had to change the location from the family Ji ancestral hall. So that's what you were thinking. I'm telling you, don't even think about it. Everyone here has eyes. They will never believe you. Ji Miaomiao looked angry. Her face was flushed red. Luo Qingtong, this B***TCH, could make Qin Xiong and the others speak according to her idea. They were going to be screwed by her. Fortunately, Qin Xiong and the others were alert. As soon as they recovered, they immediately begged for mercy and exposed Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, they would have to suffer this loss. However, she didn't know that Qin Xiong and the others were just talking nonsense to survive. Luo Qingtong controlled them to tell the truth. But they couldn't admit it. Otherwise, they would be finished. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong and the others wouldn't let them go. Even Ji Fighting and the others would never let them go. Therefore, the crowd could only risk their lives to slander Luo Qingtong. They wanted to make people think that she was controlling them to tell lies. And the actions of Qin Xiong and the others just now were indeed very strange. When the crowd heard their words, they immediately believed it. Upon hearing Ji Miaomiao's words, the family Ji's elders were furious. They looked at Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu and said, Ji Feiyu, you have really disappointed us. In order to cover up your affair with this woman, you actually disregarded the reputation of the family Ji and allowed her to do whatever she wanted and slander the members of the family Ji. What are your intentions? How dare an outsider ask you to do this to a member of our family Ji? You guys are really despicable. You don't deserve to be part of our family Ji. That's right. Ji Yuankuan, you didn't teach your son well and even allowed him to slander our family Ji's reputation. Your family isn't anything good. From now on, our family Ji no longer has a direct descendant. All of you, get out of the Ji residence immediately. Guards. The group of family Ji's elders were filled with righteous indignation and deeply felt that they had been fooled. And Luo Qingtong's method of proving her innocence was simply throwing their family Ji's reputation to the ground for others to trample on. Therefore, they couldn't hold back any longer and wanted to punish Ji Feiyu and the others by force. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded faintly. Originally, I didn't want to be so ruthless. But since you insist that my proof of innocence was a sham, then... Yi Zichen looked at Yi Zichen. Chapter 2975. As she said this, her figure suddenly flashed and she appeared beside Ji Feitong. The latter's lips were still holding a gloating sneer. At this moment, he was looking at Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu, waiting to see how they would be unlucky. A group of idiots. They actually dared to go against Ji Fighting and the others. They wouldn't even know how they died. Especially that Luo Xiaoqi. Although she had some ability, she could actually control Qin Xiong and the others to say things that they didn't want to say. But that was all there was to it. Didn't she see that Qin Xiong and the others immediately refuted what they said as soon as they returned to normal? This Luo Xiaoqi had some ability. No wonder she dared to come to the family Ji with Ji Feiyu and wanted to clarify the matter between them. But since Ji Fighting and the others wanted to deal with them, how could they give her a chance to clarify? It was useless for her to set the place in the central arena. Even if it was in front of so many people, the Ji family still wanted to convict them of their crimes. As he thought this, the smile on his lips was indescribably cold and proud. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's figure appeared beside him. Before he could react, he heard Luo Qingtong say to him with a chuckle, "Young Master Feitong, you said that you liked me and were willing to help me at the last moment. I am very grateful. Please stand up and expose the sinister face of the family Ji's people. Young Master Feiyu and I are very grateful." Hearing her words, Ji Feitong felt a burst of confusion in his heart. What nonsense was this woman talking about? When did he say that he liked her and wanted to help her at the last moment? She was simply full of nonsense. Thinking this, Ji Feitong was about to angrily reprimand Luo Qingtong. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong didn't know what was good for her and rejected his idea of taking her as a concubine. Now, she came to him at this time. Could it be that she was afraid, so she wanted to beg him for mercy? She wanted him to beg Ji Fighting and the others to spare her life? However, it was too late. She had offended Ji Miao Miao, Ji Fighting, and the others for no reason. Ji Feitong didn't even dare to go against Ji Fighting and the others. Even if he dared, he would not go against them for Luo Qingtong. Therefore, he did not hesitate to berate Luo Qingtong. However, when he opened his mouth, he was shocked to find that the words he was about to say had changed. It became, "Good. Don't worry, I've long hated Ji Fighting and Ji Miao Miao's disgusting behavior. This time, I will definitely redress your grievances." What was going on? Ji Feitong was shocked. Luo Qingtong was smiling. She said to Ji Feitong, "Good, it's rare for young Master Feitong to be so righteous. Then, please expose Ji Fighting and the others' despicable behavior to the public." Luo Qingtong's face was full of smiles. Didn't the family Ji's people say that she had controlled Qin Xiong and the others to speak? Since they didn't want to hear the truth, then she would really control the family Ji's people to speak. Let's see how they would fall into eternal damnation. In fact, Luo Qingtong had already done something to Ji Feitong. She was just waiting for him to jump out at the critical moment to deal with Ji Fighting and the others. Originally, she didn't want to expose Ji Feitong in this arena. However, since the family Ji's people refused to admit that Qin Xiong and the others were speaking the truth, she could only force them to admit it. Chapter 2976. After hearing Ji Feitong's words, Ji Fighting and Ji Miao Miao immediately became furious. Ji Fighting, in particular, shouted at Ji Feitong coldly, "Ji Feitong, are you crazy?" After saying this, he thought that Ji Feitong might be under Luo Qingtong's control. He immediately shouted at her, "Luo Xiaoqi, what the hell are you doing? Haven't you learned your lesson from Qin Xiong and the others? How dare you control our family Ji's people to talk nonsense in the arena? Do you think we and everyone else here will believe you?" Ji Fighting was enraged. Luo Qingtong was simply courting death. How dare she do something to Ji Feitong? It was fine that she did something to Qin Xiong and the others. After all, they were the family Ji's servants. But now, Ji Feitong was clearly their family Ji's people. She was simply courting death. Ji Fighting's face was filled with rage. Ji Miao Miao's voice was extremely sharp. "Catch that B*TCH right now. Let her control our family Ji's people." Bullshit. As she said this, the family Ji's elders immediately prepared to take action. Because Luo Qingtong's people were Ji Feiyu, Ji Yuanqing, and the others. Ordinary family Ji's guards would be restrained if they took action. It would be troublesome if they escaped. However, Luo Qingtong did not look anxious at all. It was as if she did not see that the family Ji's people were about to take action. She stood beside Ji Feitong and smiled at the people around her. You family Ji's people are really strange. Since you accuse me of doing something to Qin Xiong and the others and controlling them to say things they shouldn't say, then I'll prove my innocence. Naturally, I'll prove my innocence and that I didn't do anything to them just now. What? Now that your family Ji's own people have come forward to expose you, you're panicking? There's no better way to describe you with a guilty conscience than with a guilty conscience. As for whether I'm controlling them or not, everything will be clear once young Master Feitong speaks. Young Master Feitong, please tell me all the dirty secrets of your family Ji. What's going on with Ji Feiyu going to the Star Desolate region to propose? How are Ji fighting and Ji Miao Miao in the family Ji? Luo Qingtong's words made Ji Feitong's teeth itch. This B**TCH was simply trying to kill him. However, did she think that this would be enough to deal with Ji fighting and the others? What a joke. So what if she controlled herself and told him the truth? Ji fighting and the others could still insist that she was controlling herself to speak. And when he returned to normal, he would insist that she was controlling him. When that time came, she and Ji Feiyu would still have a dead end. This idiot actually thought that asking him to speak was different from asking Qin Xiong and the others to speak. Thinking this, Ji Feitong sneered viciously in his heart. However, just as he thought this, he heard a series of words uncontrollably coming out of his mouth. These words were all about the secrets of the family Ji and the extremely vicious things that Ji fighting had asked him to do. He also heard about what Ji Miao Miao had done. In short, this was a huge revelation. Chapter 2977. Oh my God, Ji fighting and his people are so vicious. Yes. Did you hear that? It turns out that the young master of the Yuan family, who ranked second in the Dongting region, was not killed in an attack during training. Instead, Ji fighting pretended to be friends with him and lured him to a dangerous place before killing him. That's right. There's also that young master Yu from the Nangong clan. His status, temperament, and potential are all above Ji fighting's. Yet, he somehow went blind and became an idiot. It turned out that Ji fighting did something to his wound when he was injured, so that the poison in his body could not be removed. That's why he became like this. Oh my God, this is so vicious. It's hard to imagine. The family Nangong was very grateful to Ji fighting at that time, thinking that he saved young Master Yu safely. Otherwise, young Master Yu would have died. For this reason, the family Nangong funded Ji fighting with countless cultivation resources every year, and the family Nangong has always been the family Ji's staunchest ally. The family Ji's power and development over the years can't be separated from the family Nangong's help. Oh my God, if the family Nangong knew about this, he would be so angry that he would have a cerebral hemorrhage. Also, didn't you hear? Miss Sikong, who was unparalleled and beautiful in the Dongting Pavilion, was tricked by Ji Miao Miao into being naked in public. In the end, she was so ashamed and angry that she was forced to become a nun. Yes, and the young lady of the Qing family in the Dongting Pavilion, because she gently said that Ji Miao Miao was blocking her way, she held a grudge against her and secretly disfigured her face. Oh my God, these two siblings are like a snake and a scorpion, and a vicious woman. Everyone was speechless in their hearts. When they heard Ji Feitong's words, they had no doubt that Luo Qingtong was manipulating Ji Feitong to say these words. After all, these things had happened in the Dongting Pavilion for many years. Except for the people in the Dongting Pavilion, very few people knew about it. What Ji Feitong said and the details were very detailed. Not only that, some things were done by him personally, so he did not lack any evidence or details. According to his words, he could easily find out the truth of the matter. When the crowd heard this, it was clear at a glance. They already knew in their hearts whether these words were true or false. The family G's people really deserve it. Luo Xiaoqi was ready to stop after she made Qin Xiong and the others tell the truth. I didn't expect them to be so relentless. In the end, they even made Qin Xiong and the others accuse Luo Xiaoqi, saying that she controlled them to speak. Is this a slap in the face? That's right. With so many scandals being made public, Ji Fighting's reputation as a gentleman has completely collapsed. Oh my God, to think that I used to worship him. I must have been blind. Luo Mayan. And that Ji Miao Miao, who usually pretends to be a noble and inviolable legitimate daughter, turns out to be such a disgusting and vicious person. You really have a heart as vicious as snakes and scorpions. The other members of the family Ji are not good people either. Haven't you heard? They sent Ji Feiyu, the son of the first wife, to arrange a marriage, but secretly prepared to kill the other party. Now that the other party's engagement was broken off, they seized the opportunity to attack the first wife. They used to boast about being respectful to the first wife, but it was all a pretense. Chapter 2978. The crowd discussed animatedly as they looked at Ji Fighting and the others with disdain. One could imagine how quickly these words would spread throughout the entire Dongting region after today. When Ji Feitong's words rang out, Ji Fighting and Ji Yuankuan's expressions turned extremely ugly. As for Ji Miao Miao, she let out an ah and fainted from anger. All of her image had collapsed at Ji Feitong's words. From today onwards, she would be the most vicious woman in the entire Dongting region. However, she didn't even have a chance to refute because everything Ji Feitong said was the truth. And the things she had done weren't just limited to this. As long as someone was willing to dig, they would soon be able to dig up all the other things she had done. Ji Miao Miao couldn't imagine the impact it would cause. At this moment, Ji Fighting's collapse was no less than Ji Miao Miao's. What he had done was much more serious than Ji Miao Miao's. In order to become a unique young talent in the entire Dongting region, he had done so. He didn't know how many people he had gotten rid of openly and secretly. Those people were either eliminated by him directly or by someone he had arranged for. In short, if they were exposed, the situation would be much more serious than Ji Miao Miao's. At this moment, he didn't even dare to say a single word. He was deeply afraid that others would find out some clues from his words. There wouldn't even be a need for an investigation. They could directly convict him of a crime. At that time, the aristocratic families who would come to seek justice would probably flatten the entire family Ji. As Ji Fighting thought of this, his heart suddenly throbbed with pain. As for Ji Yuankuan, needless to say, he had originally asked Luo Qingtong to come here to prove her innocence in order to completely crush the psychological defenses of Ji Yuansheng and the others. He wanted them to be completely unable to defend themselves in front of the surrounding onlookers. In this way, their family Ji would dispose of them, gain a good reputation, and get rid of their own mortal enemy. However, who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would actually stage a desperate counterattack at the last moment? This B*TCH had actually hidden her intentions from the beginning and lured them step by step to such a situation. Looking at Luo Qingtong's previous actions, it was obvious that she had a way to deal with it, but she just didn't do it, causing Ji Yuankuan and the others to mistakenly think that they had no way to deal with it. After all, no matter how one looked at it, Luo Qingtong and the others should have no chance to refute. Ji Feiyu, this traitor, brought such a woman back to their family Ji. This bastard. Ji Yuankuan's expression was ugly, but he forgot that if they hadn't forced him step by step, there wouldn't have been such a result. But now, he blamed it on Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the others. He was simply speechless. On the other hand, Ji Feiyu, Ji Yuankuan, and the others' faces were filled with indescribable surprise. Ji Feiyu's heart was in his throat, especially when Qin Xiong and the others immediately betrayed them as soon as they were free. He was even more worried about Luo Qingtong. If he hadn't miscalculated and misjudged Ji Fighting and the others' eagerness to deal with him, Luo Qingtong wouldn't have fallen into such a situation where she was slandered and dealt with. His heart was filled with indescribable regret. He had already made up his mind. If there was really no way to refute in the end, then he would use his life in exchange for Luo Qingtong's safe departure. Presumably, when the time came, the family Ji's people would no longer be able to forcibly stop Luo Qingtong and his father from leaving in front of so many people, right? Chapter 2979. Everyone's hearts were filled with indescribable excitement. Yen Nyang's tense expression also eased a little. So master was waiting for them here. No wonder she didn't make a move before. Serves them right, these people from the Ji family. Yen Nyang was gloating in her heart. These family Ji people thought that their master was a soft persimmon that they could pinch and flatten. Now they finally realized that their master wasn't a weak bun that could be bullied, but a cactus with thorns all over its body. They were really blind to deal with their master. There were also Qin Xiong, Ji Feitong, and the others. Yen Nyang looked at their frightened and desperate expressions and snorted coldly in her heart. They actually thought that their master was easy to bully when she asked them to do something to her master. They had caught a handful of thorns, right? Qin Xiong and the others were dead meat. They had just coaxed the family Ji people and made the family Ji people think that they were being controlled by their master when they spoke the truth. Therefore, they had been aggressive and caused Ji Feitong to fall into their trap. What he said in the end was completely beyond the family Ji's ability to bear. If not for this, when the family Ji people knew that Luo Qingtong had the ability to make people speak the truth, they wouldn't have been so aggressive and would have chosen to keep the peace. It seemed that their master had deliberately let Qin Xiong and the others go free to see how they and the family Ji people would react. Now, it seemed that they all deserved it. And Ji Feitong, this fool, had been controlled by their master and revealed so many secrets of the family Ji. Would the family Ji people let him go? Letting him die would be a light punishment. At that time, these two groups of people would definitely be tortured to death by the family Ji people. And the family Ji people would also suffer the punishment of losing their reputation. It could be said that it was a dog-eat-dog situation. Her master's personality was still the same as before. Whoever dared to deal with her, she would definitely return the favor. Moreover, she was more mature than before. As Yen Yang thought of this, she pursed her lips and smiled. There was an indescribable joy in her heart. She couldn't stand Luo Qingtong being wronged and slandered. Otherwise, he wouldn't have temporarily put down his hatred for Chu Tianyi for the sake of Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong was her life, her root, and her faith. The young girl was slandered and looked down upon. She felt even more pain and discomfort than herself. Now that Luo Qingtong had turned the tables and trampled the family Ji's people into the mud, Luo Qingtong's heart was filled with satisfaction. For a family of actors like the family Ji, having their fake skin torn apart was probably more painful than anything else, right? Serves them right for being hypocritical and pretentious. While Yen Yang was thinking about this, Chu Tianyi, who was beside her, looked at her expression and praised, "Our master is really amazing." "Humph, of course." Yen Yang felt proud and her gaze towards Chu Tianyi softened a little. This man was not bad. In any case, he knew to protect her master with her. As long as he could persevere and protect her master with her, from now on, she would not mention the past again and slowly walk out of it. Luo Qingtong had given her and her son a new life. She was also willing to walk out of the past for the sake of Luo Qingtong. As long as it was something beneficial to Luo Qingtong, Yen Yang would not hesitate to do it. Even if it meant letting her forget the painful and miserable past. Chapter 2980. Humph, let's go. The family Ji's elders were livid. They ignored Ji Yuankuan, Ji Fighting, and the others and left one after another. They were in cahoots with Ji Yuankuan and the others only because Ji Yuankuan and the others were in power. In their minds, Ji Fighting was the best candidate to inherit the family Ji. But now, according to Ji Feitong, even they were shocked by what Ji Fighting had done. In particular, in order to stand out in the Dongting region, Ji Fighting didn't even spare the members of the family Ji outside, not to mention the young and promising geniuses in the family Ji. Many young talents from the elders' families were also persecuted by Ji fighting, which made them extremely shocked and angry. Ji Miao Miao was even more vicious. All the talented and good-looking girls in the family Ji were killed by her. No one knew what was going on and only thought that those girls were unlucky. But now, it was clear that they were a threat to Ji Miao Miao, so they were killed. What was even more disgusting was that even though Ji fighting had personally ordered people to do some of these things, in the end, he still went over to comfort the victim's elder family and tried to rope in the other party's young talents to make them work for him. It was as if they shared a common hatred for a common enemy. He was really vicious to the extreme. The brother and sister sang the same tune, making the family Ji's elders and families count the money for them even after being sold. This scheming and viciousness really made people gasp in amazement, and it was also an eye-opener for the surrounding onlookers. The family Ji's elders were ridiculed for being blind. They actually defended Ji fighting and the others, and even thought that they were the best candidates to inherit the family Ji. Now, they finally suffered the consequences of their own actions, and retribution fell on them. The crowd left in a huff, and Ji fighting and Ji Yuankuan both looked extremely embarrassed. They didn't dare to say anything more and immediately left with the unconscious Ji Miao Miao. As for Ji Feitong, who was still talking with a face full of despair, he was also knocked unconscious and brought back. Luo Qingtong didn't stop them. She had set up this trap so that Ji Feitong and the others could receive the punishment they deserved. If she let Ji fighting and the others take him back, she could imagine what kind of punishment he would suffer. She didn't need to dirty Luo Qingtong's hands. Why wouldn't she do it? As for Ji fighting and the other clans of the Dongting region would deal with them. Luo Qingtong didn't plan to attack them at this time. After all, Ji Feiyu's blood curse hadn't been discovered yet. And just now, Luo Qingtong discovered something interesting. He was afraid that the blood curse on Ji Feiyu's body wasn't just targeted at him. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes as she thought of this. Just as they were about to leave the arena, Qin Xiong and the others rushed in front of them and kowtowed to Ji Feiyu, begging for mercy. "Young master, Miss Luo, we know we were wrong. Please forgive us." Qin Xiong and the others finally realized how stupid they had been before. They actually wanted to bite Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu to escape the family Ji's punishment. However, if they were to face the family Ji's punishment, although heavy, it wouldn't hurt them. Chapter 2981. The crowd didn't care about their image. They all knelt in front of Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu, kowtowing desperately and begging for mercy with tears and snot. However, Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu were indifferent. Especially Ji Feiyu. He saw with his own eyes how arrogant and hateful Qin Xiong and the others were. They made irresponsible remarks several times and wanted to kill him and Luo Qingtong. It wouldn't be enough for such people to die hundreds of times. How could he spare them? If it weren't for Luo Qingtong turning the situation around, not to mention Luo Qingtong, even his parents wouldn't be able to escape family Ji's punishment. Now, the other party actually dared to beg for mercy? They really took advantage of his kind and gentle temperament. Ji Feiyu's eyes were cold. He ignored them and walked straight ahead. Sui Yu and the others rushed forward and kicked Qin Xiong and the others. "Get lost. What happened when you were thinking about young master and little Qi's death? Good and evil will be repaid in time. Just bear with it." As they spoke, they kicked them away without hesitation. Qin Xiong and the others were in despair. Seeing that Ji Feiyu and Luo Qingtong had no intention of letting them go and didn't want to save them, they became even more daring and rushed towards Luo Qingtong while facing Sui Yu and the others' attacks. "You bitch, it's all your fault that we ended up like this. We'll kill you." Qin Xiong and the others' faces were ferocious. They gathered all their strength and rushed towards Luo Qingtong in an extremely violent and terrifying manner. If it weren't for this bitch, how could they end up like this? If they killed her, they might be able to redeem themselves in front of Ji fighting and the others and let them survive. With this thought in mind, they immediately rushed towards Luo Qingtong even more ferociously. However, before their attacks could reach Luo Qingtong, boom! In an instant, a violent attack with an unstoppable force rushed toward them. In just an instant, they were sent flying. A bunch of trash, how dare you be impudent in front of our master? Chu Tiany's voice was cold. Standing in front of Luo Qingtong, he didn't even look at Qin Xiong and the others who were sent flying. If Luo Qingtong hadn't specifically told him not to reveal his true strength, he would have already crushed Qin Xiong and the others. Luo Qingtong attacked him in front of him. Did he think that he was dead? As soon as he attacked, Ji Feiyu and the others were shocked. Especially Suiyu and the others. They originally thought that Luo Qingtong and the others wouldn't be a match for Qin Xiong and the others. They immediately rushed over to stop Qin Xiong and the others. But they didn't expect that before they could do anything, Qin Xiong and the others had already been sent flying. Shao Qi's bodyguard was actually so powerful. This strength was at least at the early stage of the human martial realm. Such a person was actually her servant? No wonder the people of True Spill Continent were able to receive the attention and protection of the Star Alliance even though they were from a low-level continent. They feared that it wasn't because the people of True Spill Continent were descendants of powerhouses who had made great contributions to the Star Alliance, or because there were treasures in True Spill Continent. It was because of Luo Qingtong. Everyone was surprised. Chapter 2982. F***CK. Didn't they say that the girl Ji Feiyu brought back was an ordinary girl from a low-level 9-star region? In order to climb up the family Ji's social ladder, she deliberately bewitched Ji Feiyu and made him break off the engagement with the eldest daughter of the Star Alliance of the Star Wilderness region? What the F***CK, this kind of low-level 9-star region girl, with a human martial realm guard, please give me a dozen of them. I'm willing to be bewitched. That's right. Do the family Ji people treat her like a fool? A girl with a human martial arts realm guard like her wants to be with Ji Feiyu. Does she need to bewitch him and make him break off the engagement with Mo Zhuling to get what she wants? What a joke. That's right. The family Ji people even said that she wanted to climb up their social ladder. My God, how can they be so shameless? Don't they know how powerful the family Ji is? Ji Yuankuan has only just entered the human martial arts realm. His cultivation is only at the beginning of the human martial arts realm, right? Even so, he's only qualified to be her guard. How dare they say that she's trying to climb up their social ladder? Ha ha ha, I'm going to laugh my teeth out. The crowd was almost one-sidedly laughing at the family Ji people. If they had already believed that Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu were innocent after hearing what Luo Qingtong had told Ji Feitong, then they were even more convinced after seeing Chu Tiany's display of strength. Because with the strength behind Luo Qingtong's display, she was qualified to be with any young talent in the Dongting region, let alone Ji Feiyu, who was recognized as trash in the Dongting region. After all, the person behind her was an expert at the beginning of the human martial arts realm. Such a person would be considered an overlord in any 8-star domain. The family Ji was a powerful family in the Dongting region, but Ji Yuankuan's strength was only at the beginning of the human martial arts realm. Such a level of strength was only on par with the strength of Luo Qingtong's guard. What was there to be proud of? The crowd was gloating in their hearts. They only felt that the family Ji people were extremely stupid. Facing such a powerful girl, they actually said that she was trying to climb up the social ladder and offend her to the point of death. Did water get into their brains? While the crowd was discussing Ji Yuankuan and Ji Feiyu, Ji had not gone far. Originally, Ji Fighting and the others were prepared to ignore Qin Xiong and the others when they went back to beg for mercy. Yuankuan, 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 Ji, Yuankuan, Ji, Yuankuan, Yuankuan, Ji, Yuankuan, Ji, Yuankuan, yet, Yuankuan, Yukuan. They, Ji Feiyu and Ji Feiyu did not pay much attention to them at first, but when the mocking laughter behind them became louder and reached their ears, they realized what kind of opportunity they had missed. The girl who came with Ji Feiyu from the Star Wilderness region was only at the Sage Master realm. The guard behind her was actually at the beginning of the human martial arts realm. He sent Qin Xiong and Ji Feiyu flying with one blow. Was this true? The crowd was stunned. Especially Ji Feiyu. He did not expect the strength behind Luo Qingtong to be so strong. Ji Feiyu tried hard to recall Chu Tianyi, who was behind Luo Qingtong. He could not see his strength at all. He was actually at the human martial arts realm. Such a strong cultivator was actually berated by the venerable realm maidservant behind Luo Qingtong to the point that her nose was not her nose and her eyes were not her eyes. Chapter 2983. His expression was shocked to the extreme, followed by jealousy. Ji Feiyu actually had such a young girl by his side. With a guard in the human martial arts realm, her identity was definitely not as simple as a young girl from a low-level 9-star region. Damn it, Qin Xiong and that group of idiots had completely messed up his chance to curry favor with a young girl from a powerful family. Ji Fighting's expression was furious and shocked. Ji Feitong's expression was completely lifeless. The power behind Luo Qingtong was actually so strong. Previously, he had still gone to her and asked her to be his concubine. He had even scolded her for not knowing how to appreciate favors. Now it looked like who was the one who didn't know how to appreciate favors, and who was the one who was stupid enough to court death. If it weren't for that stupid action, perhaps Luo Qingtong wouldn't have done anything to him and used him to deal with Ji Fighting and the others. Because the ones who had been dealing with Ji Feiyu and the others were not him, but Ji Fighting and the others. As Ji Feitong thought this, his heart instantly collapsed with regret. While they were still in shock, Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the others had already left the arena. Ji Yuansheng and the others were shocked by the power of Chu Tianyi behind Luo Qingtong, and their attitude towards her became even more respectful and grateful. In fact, even if Chu Tianyi hadn't revealed her power, their gratitude towards Luo Qingtong would definitely not be small. After all, if it weren't for Luo Qingtong's appearance, they and their son would never have been able to escape the persecution of Ji Fighting and the others. Anyone could see that Ji Fighting and the others had wanted to catch their entire family in one fell swoop, expel them from the family Ji, and abolish the direct line of descent. At that time, the family Ji would be under the control of the other party. Of course, reality had proven that the family Ji had long been under their control. Otherwise, why would he and his son be unable to explain themselves? As Ji Yuanqing thought this, he immediately mocked in his heart. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She did not decline Ji Yuanqing's gratitude. After all, although she was clarifying things for herself, it was an indisputable fact that she had saved Ji Feiyu and the others. There was no need for her to be modest. The group chatted as they walked into Ji Feiyu's courtyard outside the family Ji. This was where Ji Feiyu usually lived. Because he did not have a good time in the family Ji, he spent most of his time in the villa. The things inside were very complete. After arriving at the villa, Ji Feiyu told Ji Yuansheng and Li Shui about what Luo Qingtong had told him about the blood curse. The two of them had no idea that Ji Feiyu's inability to cultivate actually hid such a sinister truth. They had searched for famous doctors and rare treasures, but the fact that Ji Feiyu could not cultivate still could not be changed. Everyone thought that Ji Feiyu was born a good-for-nothing, including themselves. But now, Ji Feiyu told them that the reason he could not cultivate was not because he was a good-for-nothing. It was because someone had put a curse on him, and it was an extremely vicious soul blood curse. The two of them felt that the sky was about to fall. Fortunately, Ji Feiyu later told them that Luo Qingtong could cure him. Moreover, she came back with him this time to solve the problem of the soul blood curse in his body. When Ji Yuansheng and Li Shui heard this, they almost wanted to kneel down in front of Luo Qingtong. To them, their son was the most important thing. For Ji Feiyu, Ji Yuansheng and Li Shui could ask to leave the clan. They even ran around for more than 10 years just to find a way to prolong Ji Feiyu's life. Now that they could finally get what they wanted, how could they not be excited? While the two of them were excited, Luo Qingtong looked at Ji Yuanqing seriously and said, "Uncle, if I'm not wrong." Chapter 2984. As soon as she said that, Ji Yuanqing's expression froze. He looked at Luo Qingtong and said with some difficulty, "Miss Xiaoqi, why do you say that?" When he spoke, his tone was 30% hopeful and 70% hopeful. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a cautious expression. Luo Qingtong looked at him and said with a deep expression, "My abilities have not fully recovered, so I am not very accurate. But Uncle Ji, your body has an aura similar to Ji Feiyu's. If I'm not wrong, the soul blood curse on you and him should be of the same origin. It's just that the blood curse on you is not as vicious as his soul blood curse." Luo Qingtong naturally had her reasons for saying that. Although her bloody eyes had not fully recovered, she had helped block Ji Feiyu's soul blood curse. She was very sensitive to the aura of the soul blood curse. The moment she saw Ji Yuanqing, she had already sensed that Ji Yuanqing had an aura similar to the soul blood curse on Ji Feiyu's body, but it was much fainter. If she guessed correctly, the reason why Ji Yuanqing's cultivation had not improved for so many years was probably because of this blood curse. As for why Ji Yuanqing's blood curse was weaker than Ji Feiyu's, Luo Qingtong thought that it was probably because Ji Feiyu's aptitude was many times better than Ji Yuanqing's. Therefore, the person who had originally cursed Ji Yuanqing had abandoned him and cursed Ji Feiyu. As she thought this, she immediately said to Ji Yuanqing, "Uncle Ji, when your strength stopped falling, was it when Ji Feiyu was born?" As soon as her words left her mouth, Ji Yuanqing's expression froze. He looked at Luo Qingtong and nodded with difficulty. "Yes." Luo Qingtong said that when his strength stopped falling, it meant that she knew that his strength was constantly falling. Ji Yuanqing recalled the past. Back then, he was full of vigor and had broken through to the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm early on. He was only waiting for the last step to break through to the human martial arts realm and inherit the position of patriarch. The people of the Dongting region, the thousands of high-class continents, and the forces of countless regions all thought that he would amaze the world with a single brilliant feat and become the fastest cultivator to break through to the human martial arts realm in the Dongting region. However, things did not go as he wished. One morning, he suddenly discovered that his strength was constantly dropping. What kind of terrible experience was that? Ji Yuanqing didn't want to think about it anymore. He only knew that his strength was dropping at an extremely frightening speed, and this drop was simply irreversible. No matter how hard he tried, no matter how hard he tried, no matter how many elixirs he consumed, no matter how many rare herbs he swallowed, no matter how hard he tried, 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 no matter how hard he and that period of time was when Ji Yuanqing was at his most devastated. Just as his strength was about to drop from the venerable realm, Ji Feiyu was born. After that, his strength stopped falling. At that time, he thought that his son was a lucky star, but he didn't expect that he couldn't cultivate from the moment he was born. Ji Yuanqing had always blamed himself. He felt that when his strength inexplicably dropped back then, he must have inherited something to Ji Feiyu. As a result, when his son was born, he had to bear the infamy of being a good-for-nothing. He also did his best to treat Ji Feiyu well. But now, it seemed that the person who caused the tragedy of him and his son back then was not himself, but the person who secretly cursed him. Chapter 2985. As Ji Yuanqing thought of this, he immediately gritted his teeth until they bled. Bastard. He squeezed these two words out from between his teeth. His heart was filled with extreme hatred. For the sake of Ji Feiyu's inability to cultivate and his strength, the father and son had suffered so much, and how much humiliation and ridicule had they suffered. But now, he learned that all of this was man-made. The person behind the scenes, he must make him suffer a fate worse than death. Ji Yuanqing's heart was filled with hatred. At this moment, Li Shi also gritted her teeth and said in a deep voice, Ji Yuankuan, Ji fighting. It must be the father and son. There was a reason for Li Shi's suspicion. Ji Yuankuan and Ji fighting were of the same origin, and they rose to power almost at the same time. Just as Ji Yuanqing's strength continued to decline, Ji Yuankuan's strength increased by leaps and bounds, and he rose to power later. And Ji fighting was also born after Ji Feiyu was identified as a good-for-nothing. After that, he had always carried the name of the family Ji's genius and had been glorious for more than 20 years. As Li Shi thought of this, even her voice was so cold that it seemed like ice shards were about to fall. If Ji fighting and his son were really the culprits, then she would definitely make them pay with blood. She would not be merciful. When her voice sounded, Luo Qingtong shook her head and said, I don't know if it's the two of them. For the time being, we shouldn't alert the enemy. Luo Qingtong's blood pupil had been overused because she had helped Ji Feiyu obtain the ability at the marriage proposal banquet. She had not fully recovered yet, so she could not see the connection between Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing and the mastermind behind the scenes. Therefore, it was not appropriate to alert the enemy at this time. Otherwise, if the mastermind behind the scenes saw through it. Luo Qingtong's blood pupil had not recovered yet, so she could not save Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing when the other party activated the blood curse at the same time. As for Li Shi, ever since she found out that Luo Qingtong could treat Ji Feiyu and told her about Ji Yuanqing's past, she no longer doubted her. Hearing this, she immediately nodded and said, All right, Miss Xiao Qi, don't worry, I'll listen to you. Luo Qingtong immediately chuckled and said, Well, Auntie Li, you don't have to be particularly worried. The family Ji's people won't be able to escape. You can take this opportunity to watch the show. After all, it's a family Ji show. As for Uncle Ji and Ji Feiyu, during this period of time, Uncle Ji can treat his hand. As for Feiyu, he can increase his strength first. When the time comes, let's see how the family Ji people react. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes as she said this. The family Ji people had suffered such a huge setback this time. If Ji fighting and the others were indeed the mastermind behind it, they would definitely not be able to resist taking action. By then, even if Luo Qingtong's blood pupil had not recovered, she would be able to easily identify the culprit. Once they found the culprit, the rest would be easy. When Luo Qingtong said this, Ji Feiyu, Ji Yuankuan, and the others' faces suddenly lit up. Xiao Qi, my father's hand can be cured? Ji Feiyu's face was filled with surprise. He almost thought that this was a dream. Luo Qingtong being able to cure his blood curse was enough of a surprise. However, he did not expect that she could also cure his father's hand. He originally thought that she was only good at curing this kind of evil curse. Chapter 2986. Luo Qingtong chuckled. Looking at Ji Yuanqing and Li Shi's excited eyes, she said, Yes, and it's not that difficult. Although Luo Qingtong's eye technique had not fully recovered, she could still use basic vision. Otherwise, how could she have escaped from a group of black-clothed men and silver-clothed guards when she first crossed over? However, the most basic vision could not see the hidden power behind the soul blood curse. Naturally, there was no way to see its traces and connections. Therefore, Luo Qingtong asked Ji Feiyu and Li Shi to wait, so as not to alert the enemy and cause a matter that could be easily solved to end up in a lose-lose situation. That would not be beautiful. What's more, she had to get the power of the blood curse controlled by the mastermind behind the scenes. Otherwise, wouldn't this trip have been in vain? Luo Qingtong's words rang out. In an instant, Ji Yuansheng and Li Shi's eyes filled with tears. Husband, did you hear that? Your hand can still be saved. Not only will your strength be restored in the future, even your hand can be healed. Husband. Li Shi covered her mouth, her face full of unspeakable excitement. God knows how many years their family had waited for this moment. Ji Feiyu's face was also full of excitement and joy. His father's health had always been a knot in his heart. And now, his life was finally complete. Little Seven, I really don't know how to thank you. He looked at the peerlessly beautiful and devilishly charming girl in front of him, and his heart thumped violently. How could he thank her? She was like a beam of light that suddenly shone into his life, illuminating his life. Ji Feiyu did not know what his life would have been like if he had not gone to the Star Wilderness and met Luo Qingtong. Perhaps he would have died helplessly after enduring extreme humiliation and trampling. Or perhaps he would have been used as fertilizer for his strength, dying an unnatural death in all kinds of misery and helplessness. And no matter what, his parents could not have been spared. They had worked hard for him for half their lives, but he did not even have the ability to repay them. He even implicated them to suffer humiliation and torture for him, and finally went to the Yellow Springs with him. And all of this was avoided because of Luo Qingtong's existence. Ji Feiyu did not know what salvation and faith felt like in this world. But if there was, it must be the feeling that Luo Qingtong gave him. Bright, wanton, confident, dominating, soaring, in this world, she was incomparably unbridled. But in her heart, such a beautiful woman already had a sweetheart. Thinking like this, the light in his eyes, the light. He recalled Luo Qingtong's bright eyes and spirited expression when she mentioned that she had a fiancé in the convoy. At first, he didn't know what kind of expression. But now, he knew. She must love her fiancé very much. Even when she mentioned him, her face was incomparably cheerful and sweet. That was an atmosphere that no one could get involved in. Thinking like this, Ji Feiyu's heart instantly ached. In the past, he did not care about Luo Qingtong's words that she had a fiancé. But when he thought of it now, he felt that his heart was so tight that he could not breathe. Usually, I don't miss her. That's why I miss her, and that's why I miss her. Thinking like this, he pinched the corner of his clothes and slowly lowered his head. Sometimes, if you were one step late, would you be slow for a lifetime? Ji Feiyu did not know. But he knew that he might have missed Luo Qingtong's life. Chapter 2987. Ji Feiyu's face turned pale. Luo Qingtong did not see it because he had lowered his head. Hearing his words, she smiled and said, "It's all right. Don't forget that helping you is also helping myself. All right, all of you can go back and rest. I'll send you the list of medicinal herbs that Uncle Ji needs later. When the time comes, just find the herbs according to the list and send them over." Li Shi immediately agreed after hearing Luo Qingtong's words. "All right, Miss Xiao Qi, have a good rest." As she said this, she left with Ji Feiyu and the others. As for Yan Miang and Chu Tianyi, they both returned to their own rooms. Of course, it was a separate room. Yan Miang would not let Chu Tianyi take advantage of her. She had not completely forgiven him. How could she let him get close to her so quickly? Chu Tianyi was about to shamelessly follow her into her room when she slammed the door so hard that it almost hit him in the face. Yan Miang snorted coldly and said, "If you dare to take a step in without my permission, what we talked about before will be completely null and void." What did she talk about before? Of course, she was talking about getting back together with him. When Chu Tianyi heard this, his footsteps, which were originally about to continue forward, immediately stopped. The door in front of him was not an obstacle at all. However, he did not dare to take a step forward in the face of Yan Miang's words. Forget it. He still had a long life ahead of him. As long as she was willing to be with him, he was not afraid that she would not be able to untie the knot in her heart. As Chu Tianyi thought of this, he rubbed his nose and returned to the room next to Yan Miang's. Luo Qingtong was in her room. After taking a simple bath, she lay on the bed and took out the 9 phoenix ring from her storage ring to examine it carefully. I wonder what that man is doing now. As she thought of this, she gently stroked the pattern of the 9 netherworld phoenix ring and put it on her ring finger. Then, she raised her hand and took it off. Looking at the 9 nether phoenix ring being taken out without any hindrance, Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. The fact that the ring had been removed so easily meant that Yi Qianqian's ring was still sealed. That man was protecting her in his own way, wasn't he? He hadn't come to the star-desolate domain to look for her for so long. Was he held back by the matters in Tiandu? As Luo Qingtong thought of this, her brows furrowed even more tightly. Thinking of the scene when she left the abandoned continent, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. Tiandu. Trying to stop her from being with Yi Qianxian was simply a pipe dream. Sooner or later, she would personally go to Tiandu and tell the emperor of Tiandu how blind he was. At this time, Luo Qingtong did not want to cause trouble for Yi Qianxian. That man was protecting her. She could not let anyone have the chance to use her to disturb his mind. As she thought of this, she immediately put the 9 nether phoenix ring back into her storage ring. At this time, in a certain territory many miles away from the Dongting region, Yi Qianxian was lying on the bed, looking at the sealed Shifang dragon ring in his hand. Just then, there was a sudden sound of footsteps outside. Master. Chapter 2988. Good. Yi Qianqian's eyes were ice cold. He straightened himself and stood up from the bed. With a wave of his hand, he put on a robe that was hanging at the side. Beneath the fluttering sleeves and golden patterns, he strode away. Immediately send out orders to the other members of Black Nether Palace. Have them block off all channels that Heaven Capital uses to reach True Spill Continent. I don't want to see anyone related to Heaven Capital appear on the border of True Spill Continent. Also, have the people of Black Nether Palace increase their attacks on Heaven Capital. I want them to have no time to attack True Spill Continent. Yi Qianqian's voice was ice cold. As soon as he left the abandoned continent, he knew that Heaven Capital's emperor and the others would not give up. Now, he really did see them attack True Spill Continent. Unfortunately, Heaven Capital's people had already missed the best opportunity to attack True Spill Continent. If they had recklessly attacked True Spill Continent the first time they found him, Yi Qianxian might not have been able to completely stop them at that time. But now, since he already knew that the people of Heaven Capital knew the location of the True Spill Continent, and Luo Qingtong just happened to return, how could he not be on guard? If Heaven Capital's people wanted to injure Luo Qingtong from his hands, that was simply a dream. And if they wanted to use this to force him to return, then that was even more ridiculous. The greatest mistake that Heaven Capital's people made was that they didn't think that he would be the Lord of Black Nether Palace. As Yi Qianxian thought this, he coldly snorted and strode outside. Black Nether Palace's people had just been recalled and their internal situation wasn't completely stable yet. Yi Qianxian still needed to oversee this place. Once things stabilized here, he would immediately go to Star Desolate region to look for Luo Qingtong. That woman, he didn't know if she was thinking of him. As Yi Qianren thought of this, a hint of warmth and gentleness appeared in her cold and sharp eyes. The light in his eyes softened a lot. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others, who were originally suffocated by the cold and sharp aura on his body, breathed a sigh of relief. They knew in their hearts that their master was most likely thinking about the evil doctor again. Only when he thought of the evil doctor would his master's cold and terrifying aura, so cold that it could almost turn into a blade, be slightly restrained. Heaven Capital's people had truly provoked their master. They feared that Heaven Capital's army would suffer heavy casualties. His Majesty really underestimated Master. He thought that Master's strength would not be able to be fully displayed due to the heavenly vein body's limit. However, she did not know that her master had met a demon like the evil doctor. The drawbacks of the heavenly vein body in her body had been greatly alleviated. If it weren't for the fact that the strength of the evil doctor was not enough to completely cure the master, Heaven Capital would have been turned upside down. How could His Majesty and the others have the chance to use the evil doctor to threaten Master? As the crowd thought of this, they felt an indescribable sense of comfort and relief. They had tolerated it for long enough. Since their master's retirement, Heaven Capital's people had come to bully them. It was simply unbearable. This time, they had directly bullied their master's heart. Let's see how their master will deal with them. The group of people followed Yi Qianren as they strode out. At this time, in Ji Feiyu's residence in Dongting region. Chapter 2989. Someone from the family Nangong? Luo Qingtong looked surprised. She looked at Ji Feiyu, who nodded. Yes, someone from the family Nangong. The head of the family Nangong personally brought someone here to thank you. Little Seven, are you willing to see him? If you're not willing, I'll reject him for you. When Ji Feiyu said this, Luo Qingtong roughly knew what was going on. The family Nangong. That day in the central arena, she had asked Ji Feitong to reveal the conspiracy and secrets of Ji fighting and the others. Among them, it seemed that a young master from the family Nangong had been blinded by Ji fighting and had become a fool. And this family Nangong seemed to be very grateful to Ji fighting. Over the years, he had taken advantage of them. So, was he here to thank her for letting them know the truth? As Luo Qingtong thought this, she suddenly laughed. She could already imagine the scene of Ji fighting and the others being in a terrible fix and being betrayed by their friends and family. What Ji Feitong had said at that time was all true. As long as someone investigated, they would be able to find clues from the details revealed in his words. At that time, the things that Ji fighting had done could not be hidden at all. Luo Qingtong even heard Ji Feiyu say that because of Ji Feitong's words at that time, everyone in the Dongting region who knew about this matter, who had encountered even the slightest bit of misfortune, would ferociously investigate to the death. At this time, the entire Dongting region was in an uproar. It could be seen that in the future, many sinister things that Ji fighting had done but Ji Feitong had not participated in would be dug up. At that time, Ji fighting and the others would suffer. As she thought this, she immediately smiled at Ji Feiyu and said, "Okay, then let's meet." In any case, she had nothing to do in Ji Feiyu's residence. And the news of her meeting with the family Nangong might even make Ji fighting and the others fly into a rage and become restless. This made them even faster to act in desperation. With this in mind, Luo Qingtong immediately went to the hall with Ji Feiyu and the others. In the hall, the family Nangong and the family Nangong were already waiting. When they saw Luo Qingtong, they hurriedly stood up. The family Nangong thanked Luo Qingtong, "Miss Shao Qi. It's all thanks to you that our family Nangong was able to see the true colors of Ji fighting and the others. This is a small token of appreciation that we prepared. We heard that you were looking for these medicinal herbs, and our family Nangong happened to have some, so we sent them over. In addition, we've already sent people to find Ji fighting and the others to settle the score. All these years, we want Ji fighting to spit out all the things that he took from our family Nangong. When the time comes, we'll give them to you as a token of appreciation. At the same time, we'll also express our disrespect to young Master Ji when we didn't know what was right and wrong." The family Nangong's expression was very sincere. He waved his hand and had people send a pile of things over. Luo Qingtong took a look. These were the medicinal herbs that she had asked Ji Feiyu and the others to collect during this period of time that could treat Ji Yuanqing. Although it wasn't complete, it was obvious that the family Nangong had put in a lot of effort. And the resources that Ji fighting had obtained from the family Nangong over the years were not a small amount. Luo Qingtong smiled lightly. She nodded at the family Nangong and said, "Okay, thank you, family Nangong. You're so considerate." Chapter 2990. When things were going smoothly for Ji fighting and the others, everything was naturally good. Now that they had suffered a backlash, they finally knew what it meant to bring evil upon oneself was the hardest to bear. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. she accepted these gifts without batting an eyelid. However, she would not accept family Nangong's gifts for free. There were so many aristocratic families who had been cheated by Ji Fighting and the others, but only family Nangong came to give her gifts. Luo Qingtong still had a balance in her heart. Since family Nangong's people had such intentions, she would naturally reciprocate. Was young master Yu bitten by the 9 poisons and 5 evil spider? Luo Qingtong heard the onlookers vaguely mention this before, so she said to family Nangong's master, if family Nangong's master believes me, you can go to the 9 poisons and 5 evil spiders' nest to pick a stalk of herb. That herb is in the shape of a light yellow water droplet. After squeezing it into water, mix it with the 9 poisons and 5 evil spiders' inner bladder and give it to him. There should be a cure, but I'm afraid it will be difficult for his cultivation aptitude to return to the past. When she said this, family Nangong's people were instantly stunned. Family Nangong's master also looked at Luo Qingtong with shock and excitement. Miss Xiaoqi. Is this true? His voice was trembling. Those who were harmed by Ji Fighting were basically young talents who were more powerful than him. He was known as the #1 genius in family Nangong, but in reality, he was not the most powerful in the Dongting region. As for young Master Yu, he was the most outstanding among the family Nangong's younger generation. His death was a huge blow to family Nangong. Now that they heard Luo Qingtong say that he could recover, but he would not be able to return to his previous aptitude, everyone felt as if they had been hit by a pie. This was because there was a huge difference between having 1 more genius disciple and 1 less genius disciple. Not to mention a genius disciple like young Master Yu. Even if he did not have the amazing aptitude he had in the past, he would still be a great help to the family Nangong. Good. Miss Xiaoqi, I'll send someone to do it immediately. As long as it's effective, the family Nangong will do our best to help you in the future. With that, he hurriedly led the family Nangong away. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she watched the family Nangong people leave. She smiled faintly without saying anything. If that young Master Yu from the family Nangong woke up, wouldn't Ji Fighting's life be even more difficult? Let's see how long they can last. It wouldn't be long before the fox's tail would be exposed. When the head of the family Nangong and the others left in a hurry, a family Nangong disciple couldn't help but ask, Uncle, can we trust Luo Xiaoqi's words? Don't tell me she's trying to trick us. But I've never heard of a 9 poisons and 5 evil spider being cured in such a way. That's right, Grandpa. Another Nangong family clan disciple also followed up and said, our Nangong family clan's people searched for who knows how many famous doctors for Yenyu's poison. They all said that there was no cure, that the poison had already entered the heart. How could she treat it so easily? And so easily. We've never heard of such a treatment method. That's right. The family Nangong people discussed animatedly. They didn't quite believe Luo Qingtong. The head of the family Nangong reprimanded them. What do you know? A bunch of idiots. As he said this, he suddenly took a deep breath and said to the group of Nangong family people, from now on, no one is allowed to be disrespectful to Miss Luo. Not only that, in the future, you can only serve Ji Feiyu and the others. You must try your best to satisfy their requests. Chapter 2991. Let them make a choice. Should we continue to protect Ji Feiyu and the others, or should we send Ji Feiyu and the others back? If it's the former, then don't blame us for being impolite. The family Nangong's face was cold, but he couldn't help but feel excited. He suspected that Luo Qingtong was the little 7th young master who had caused a stir in the Heavenly Wind region and the Flying Star region. After the incident on the abandoned continent, although not everyone saw Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming together, news about her still spread in the 2-star regions. It even spread to the surrounding star regions. The family Nangong's master happened to have something to do before, so he went on a trip to the outer region. He happened to pass by the star regions around the Heavenly Wind region and heard about Luo Qingtong. Therefore, after learning that the woman brought back by Ji Feiyu was called Luo Shaoqi, and that she was followed by a human martial realm expert as a servant, he wanted to take a look and thank her. After all, there were many people called Luo Shaoqi, but they were of the same age and were followed by experts. These few points were not easy to match. Luo Qingtong didn't expect that there would be people in the true Spill continent who knew about her in the Heavenly Wind region. Therefore, when she reported her name to Ji Feiyu, she didn't make any special effort to hide it. Now, the family Nangong's master guessed that she might be the little seventh young master from the way she mentioned the antidote to the 9 poison 5 evil spider. Although he didn't know how she suddenly became a woman, Luo Qingtong's ability was very unique. The family Nangong's master had already determined Luo Qingtong's identity. It was just that Luo Qingtong obviously wanted to hide it, so he didn't say anything. Not only that, he didn't say anything to the Nangong family in case Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed and they were unhappy. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's identity as the little seventh young master, the family Nangong's master felt a burst of excitement. On the other hand, the family Nangong members were stunned. They did not understand why the head of the family Nangong would be so protective of Luo Qingtong. After all, even if the other party could cure Nangong Yenyu's poison, there was no need for them to act like this, right? Wasn't the patriarch going overboard? They were confused, but they did not dare to refute the family Nangong's words. The group went straight back to family Nangong. At this time, in the family Ji Yuankuan, Ji Fighting, and the others also received the news that the family Nangong had gone to Ji Feiyu's residence to thank them. Immediately, Ji Yuankuan's expression became furious. Bastard! He gritted his teeth. Ji Feiyu and the others, on the other hand, had soared into the sky. Where did that bitch named Luo Shaoqi come from? Damn it! Ji Yuankuan was furious. He couldn't believe that he had planned for half his life and was about to completely control the family Ji in his hands and get rid of Ji Yuansheng and the others. But at this time, such a thing happened. Now, their family was completely hated by everyone in the Dongting region. And they couldn't stay in the family Ji any longer. Because those elders could no longer stand what they had done and the trouble they had brought to the family Ji. According to the news Ji Yuankuan received, those people were ready to join forces to deprive him of the position of the family Ji. At that time, they could only be driven out of the family Ji. Thinking of this, Ji Yuankuan's face suddenly showed an extremely gloomy and cold expression. At this time, Ji Fighting's voice sounded. Chapter 2992. The moment he said that, Ji Yuankuan's face was filled with shock. That method, he looked at his son, whom he relied on the most. Ji Fighting's expression was fierce. Father, I know you don't want to take that step unless it's absolutely necessary. But look, it's only been a short while and those families have already come knocking on our door. In the future, there will be more and more of these people. And these people in the family Ji obviously don't want us to stay in the family Ji anymore. If we don't use that method, are we really going to let them chase us out of the family Ji? At this point, he paused and said coldly, Father, you've used so many methods to get the family Ji. Now that all your efforts have been in vain, can you tolerate it? And those families that we've offended, once we leave the family Ji, they won't let it go. Now that we've come to this point, we might as well go all the way. At this point, Ji Fighting's voice was unusually vicious and heartless. He wasn't wrong. Luo Qingtong's reversal was too fast and effective. They didn't expect her to have such ability. And the words that came out of Ji Feitong's mouth were so detailed that they could almost be considered evidence. Ji Fighting and the others couldn't defend themselves at all. Under such circumstances, even if they wanted to twist the truth and say that Luo Qingtong was slandering them, no one would believe them. That was why Ji Fighting said that. They had already been completely turned around by Luo Qingtong and missed the opportunity. If they didn't act ruthlessly now, it would be too late. As soon as he said that, Ji Yuankuan's expression slowly changed. Fine. If they're heartless, I won't be righteous. Ji Yuankuan's expression was vicious. His voice was the same as his expression, carrying a sinister and vicious look. He didn't want to do this at first. But now, it was those people in the family Ji who had forced him. "Let's go, I'll take you to see that lord." As Ji Yuankuan said that, he immediately led Ji Fighting to the secret room behind him. The two of them opened the door of the secret room and walked in. Soon, they appeared in a huge underground cave. Lord. In the underground cave, an extremely ferocious statue appeared in front of Ji Yuankuan and Ji Fighting. The statue's expression was extremely ferocious and terrifying. It had a green face and fangs, and its eyes were protruding. There were two huge sharp horns on its head. When Ji Yuankuan and Ji Fighting spoke, the statue's eyes suddenly moved, and then focused on the two of them. "What are you doing here?" The statue's voice was unusually sharp and gloomy. It sounded like something sharp was rubbing against each other, causing a teeth-numbing sound. Ji Fighting and Ji Yuankuan's didn't even dare to raise their heads. It wasn't the first time the two of them had come here. But every time he came in and saw this statue, he still felt a chill in his heart. That's right, Ji Yuankuan and Ji Fighting relied on this statue. This statue was discovered by Ji Yuankuan during a training session in a mystic realm. He had already forgotten how he had discovered the abnormality of the statue and how he had awakened the soul within the statue. But he knew that it was because of this statue. Chapter 2993. Back then, there were countless genius descendants like Ji Yuankuan in the family Ji. The glory of the direct descendants. Ji Yuankuan's strength was not bad among the concubines, but compared to those genius descendants of the direct descendants, he was not worth mentioning at all. Not to mention compared to the previous proud son of heaven, the destined successor of the family Ji, Ji Yuancheng. However, after obtaining this statue, Ji Yuankuan's strength continued to advance by leaps and bounds. Not only that, the geniuses of the direct descendants fell one after another, and their strength stagnated. All of this was because this statue had absorbed their souls and essence, transferring their strength and aptitude to Ji Yuankuan. Even Ji Fighting's current strength and status had come about because of this. Why did Ji Fighting secretly harm so many family descendants outside? Other than the fact that the other party's strength and aptitude were above his, which made him jealous, the other reason was that the power of those people's souls could allow him to obtain a little more power from this statue. Otherwise, with the current situation of the family Ji's genius descendants withering, how could he maintain his genius persona? The two of them relied on this method to continuously rise to the top. Now that the matter was exposed, they naturally had to come here to ask for protection. "Sir." Ji Yuankuan lowered his head and said, "What we did outside has been exposed. Sir, please help us." He. Hearing his words, the statue suddenly laughed. It looked at Ji Yuankuan and Ji Fighting and said sinisterly, "I told you to listen to me back then. What you did will be exposed sooner or later. Why don't you just sacrifice all the people of the family Ji? When I recover my true body, I will definitely give you supreme power. It will not be stronger than you guarding this family Ji now, but you are unwilling. Why, now you know to beg me?" He. The statue mocked sharply. Ji Yuankuan and Ji Fighting could not refute it after a single sentence. It was not that they were unwilling at that time, but they were afraid that after this statue recovered its true body, they would no longer be able to suppress it. At that time, who knew what it would do to them? Over the years, they had gained some understanding of the strength of this statue. It could be said to be unprecedented and shocking. They were both shocked and excited. At the same time, they were also very scared. If the statue really left the current scene and recovered its true form, who knew what it would do to them in the end? What if it didn't fulfill its promise in the end and instead killed them and turned them into part of its body's power? Where would they go to cry? Therefore, the father and son had never agreed to this matter. But now, it was obvious that the family Ji could no longer tolerate them. The entire Dongting region saw them as scourges. What did they have to be afraid of? He might as well take a gamble and let the statue recover its true form. At that time, let's see if there are any clans in the Dongting region that would dare to raise their voices and demand justice from them. As Ji Yuankuan thought this, the expression on his face was extremely sinister. He looked at the statue and said, "We were wrong. We thought that the family Ji's people were related to us by blood, so we couldn't do it. So I thought of slowly restoring your strength and true body, my lord. That way, it would be safer." Chapter 2994. At the mention of Luo Qingtong, Ji Yuankuan gritted his teeth. He said to the statue, "Sir, now the family Ji wants to punish us, and the other families are not willing to let us go. We don't need to think about them anymore." As soon as Ji Yuankuan said that, the statue laughed even more sharply. "All right, the two of you don't have to put on an act in front of me. If your matter hadn't been exposed this time, I'm afraid you wouldn't have been willing to sacrifice the family Ji's people, right? Hee hee. But it doesn't matter, as long as you're willing now. My promise has always been valid. But before that, I have to absorb the energy essence of that boy named Ji Feiyu. Otherwise, the energy I've accumulated is not enough to convert all the energy from the blood sacrifice of so many people." The words of the statue were exactly what Ji Fighting and Ji Yuankuan had been hoping for. In the end, this matter was caused by Ji Feiyu. Wasn't it good to be a good-for-nothing and be bullied by others? But he brought back that B**tch Luo Xiaoqi, forcing them to take risks. If they couldn't get anything good out of it, Ji Feiyu wouldn't either. He could have lived for a few more years. Now, he could go to hell. "Everything is up to you, sir. Then we'll go down and prepare. We'll do it in 3 days. Okay." The voice of the statue laughed. "When the time comes, you can directly lead the family Ji's people into the blood sacrifice array. As for Ji Feiyu's family, I'll deal with them." As soon as it said that, Ji Yuankuan and Ji Fighting both quickly agreed. At this moment, in the family Ji, Luo Qingtong was carefully examining the injury on Ji Yuanqing's arm. Ji Yuanqing's injury was indeed very serious. The meridians on his left arm were almost all torn. It was said that torn bones and flesh were easy to heal. At most, it would take some time to heal the muscles and bones. However, the broken meridians were almost impossible to heal. Even if it healed, it would be impossible for it to return to its original unobstructed state. As a result, the injury on Ji Yuanqing's arm had been delayed until now. However, it was different in Luo Qingtong's hands. She easily connected the meridians in Ji Yuanqing's arm. Not only that, she even gave him a few strands of the 1,000 silkworm thread that she had obtained from the abandoned continent. After all, Ji Yuanqing's left arm had been injured for too long. If he didn't use the 1,000 silkworm's threads to connect them, the meridians in his arms would be much weaker than the rest of his body since they hadn't been trained for a long time. At that time, it would definitely become a weakness of his body. Luo Qingtong helped him to the end. She also used a few threads of 1,000 silkworms to heal the meridians in his left hand. There was no difference between the meridians in his left hand and the meridians in other places. As for the medicinal herbs that Ji Feiyu and the others found, she also refined them into medicinal pills for Ji Yuanqing to consume. With this two-pronged approach, the strength of Ji Yuanqing's left hand would recover to its original state in less than 2 days. Ji Feiyu and Li Shi were originally very nervous, afraid that there would be another problem. In the end, when Luo Qingtong told them that it had been cured and that there would be no difference in their strength in the future, the two of them were so happy that they cried. Ji Yuanqing's face was also full of surprise and shock. He knew what the situation with his left hand was, so he also knew what it meant for Luo Qingtong to be able to restore his left hand to its original state. The other party's medical skills were simply godly. Was their family really in the midst of a storm of misfortune? Otherwise, how could they know such a young girl? Chapter 2995. The family Nangong clan had come to visit. This time, the family Nangong clan master had brought Nangong Yenyu with him. Nangong Yenyu, who was known as Nangong Jiyu, young master Yu, was wearing white clothes and appeared in front of Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the others. He did not have the slightest bit of madness and blindness as the rumors said. However, Luo Qingtong could still see from the fatigue and vicissitudes in his eyes that what he had experienced was not an illusion. "Congratulations on your recovery, young master Yu." She smiled and nodded at Nangong Yenyu. The latter also nodded and cupped his hands in return. "Thank you, Lady Xiaoqi. These years were like a dream. If it wasn't for Lady Xiaoqi, I would still be muddle-headed and would not know the ugliness and hypocrisy of this world. It is more terrifying than I imagined," Nangong Yenyu said with a mocking smile. He used to believe in Ji fighting, but now he felt how stupid he was. He dared to believe in such a snake and scorpion. Not only that, he even entrusted his life to him. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong saving him, he might not even know that it was Ji fighting who did it to him. Not to mention that Ji fighting used his name to get a lot of benefits from the family Nangong. After Nangong Yenyu spoke, the family Nangong clan master also said, "Lady Xiaoqi, it is all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, Yenyu would definitely not be able to wake up again. Our family Nangong doesn't know how to repay the grace of rebirth. This is what we got from the family Ji. Ji fighting has taken the resources from us all these years. Please accept it, Lady Xiaoqi." In addition, the family Nangong clan master said in a deep voice, "If Lady Xiaoqi has any instructions, please do not hesitate to say it. We have already sent people to inform the family Ji to make a choice between young Master Feiyu's family and Ji fighting's family. I believe there will be an answer soon. Our family Nangong will always stand by young Master Feiyu's side." Luo Qingtong was astonished when she heard the family Nangong's words. Wasn't the family Nangong making a huge sacrifice this time? Putting aside the family Nangong resources that Ji fighting had given her before, they were just inanimate objects after all. However, this time, Ji Feiyu's side had nothing, and Ji Feiyu's ability to cultivate had not been made public yet. If the people of the family Nangong were already on his side, wouldn't they be afraid of severely hindering their development in the future? After all, supporting a piece of trash was a joke in everyone's eyes. Even if the people of the family Nangong knew how to repay kindness, there was no need for them to do something that was detrimental to the development of their family, right? However, the family Nangong's attitude was sincere, so Luo Qingtong did not refuse. After all, it didn't matter what the other party thought. This was a good thing for Ji Feiyu and the others. Luo Qingtong originally wanted to help Ji Feiyu and the others find a helper, so that she could leave here without worry. Before she could find a helper, the people of the family Nangong came knocking. Since that was the case, then she would choose them. After she nodded in agreement, the family Nangong's head was very happy in his heart. He originally wanted to build a relationship with Luo Qingtong, and now he wanted to build a relationship with Ji Feiyu and the others. After all, the other party had made Luo Qingtong spend a lot of effort, and it was not something an ordinary friendship could compare to. The family Nangong's head thought so, and his face was immediately filled with a smile. When he left with Nangong Yenyu, Sueyu, and the others suddenly rushed in from outside. "Young master. Little 7. Chapter 2996. Hearing that, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. Ji Feiyu, Ji Yuansheng, and the others said in low voices, "That's impossible. Ji Yuankuan and the others wouldn't be so generous. Little 7, there's a conspiracy." Ji Feiyu looked at Luo Qingtong worriedly. He didn't believe that Ji Yuankuan and Ji fighting would have such courage and magnanimity. They actually took the initiative to abdicate and let their family return to the position of family head. Let's not talk about how sudden this decision was. Just based on Ji fighting and Ji Yuankuan's personalities, they weren't that kind of people. Just as he was thinking this, Luo Qingtong smiled faintly and said, "Of course, it seems like the snake has come out of the hole." Luo Qingtong smiled faintly in her heart. She had waited for so many days, and finally, there was movement from Ji Yuankun and Ji Fighting. However, even if they wanted to deal with Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuancheng, there was no need to make such a big move. They even called back everyone from the family Ji. What were they trying to do? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. On the other side, everyone in the family Ji was very happy. They were originally prepared to give up on Ji Yuankun and Ji Fighting. They didn't expect them to be so tactful and take the initiative to abdicate. Not only that, they even called back the family Ji who were outside to gain experience. With such a big move, it was obvious that Ji Yuankun and his son didn't deliberately say this to fool them. Since that was the case, they were relieved. After all, no one wanted to be implicated by Ji Yuankun and his son. Now, the family Ji's reputation as the #1 drama queen in Dongting was very well known. They had lost all their face. Not only that, they had also suffered a lot in the hands of Ji Yuankun and his son. Under such circumstances, who would still protect the father and son pair? The members of the Ji family were not fools. Ji Yuankun and the others were like the sun in the sky, so they naturally flattered them. But at this moment, Ji Yuankun and the others were practically hated by everyone in the Dongting region. Did they still need to protect them? Not to mention, the family Nangong had been severely offended by Ji Fighting. He had already told his parents to choose between Ji Feiyu and Ji Fighting. Did they even need to think about it? Naturally, he would choose Ji Feiyu. After all, no matter how useless he was, Luo Qingtong and the human martial arts realm expert behind her were a great help to their family Ji. Moreover, the family Nangong had already announced to the public that they would always be on Ji Feiyu's side. It was even more impossible for them to support Ji Fighting and the others. Therefore, from the very beginning, they had wanted Ji Yuankun to abdicate. Now that the other party had brought it up himself, it was in line with their wishes. The group of people from the Ji family were extremely happy. They were afraid that Ji Yuankun would change his mind again. At that time, there would be unexpected complications and unnecessary trouble. They immediately spread the word. They told the family Ji's people who were training outside to come back as soon as possible. While they were in an uproar, Ji Fighting and Ji Yuankun had cold smiles on their faces. Humph, these people can't wait for me to give up my position to Ji Yuancheng and the others. In their dreams, Ji Yuankun's expression was ferocious. He looked at the busy family Ji's people below and sneered, "The blood sacrifice array has been drawn. It's under the family Ji's martial arts practice field. Once it's activated, I want them to die without a burial place." Chapter 2997. Ji Yuankun's voice was cold. Ji Fighting's face was also very cold and ruthless. He looked at the family Ji below and said, "It's a pity that I can't see Ji Feiyu and the others die in fear tomorrow. But it's the same to see it afterwards. They can't survive under the hands of Sir, even if Luo Xiaoqi has an expert at the early stage of the human martial realm behind her." He said so. His face was full of contempt and ruthlessness. Even if that Sir's body was incomplete and only had a soul body, he still had the strength of the 9th level of the human martial realm. If it wasn't for the time limit that he could leave the statue and that he couldn't leave the statue often, which limited his help to them, they would have already unified the Dongting region. At this time, the other party was preparing to attack Ji Feiyu and the others. Luo Qingtong and the others who lived with Ji Feiyu and the others were also doomed. After the blood sacrifice of the family Ji's people, he and his father were about to walk towards glory. At that time, let's see who would dare to cause trouble for them. He and his father were too indecisive before. They were afraid that after the Sir's reconstruction, it would be disadvantageous to them, so they had been delaying it. Otherwise, how could Luo Qingtong deal with them before? Ji Fighting thought of the humiliation and disdain he had suffered in the central arena before, and his face became fierce and vicious. At this time, Luo Qingtong had also finished making arrangements in the courtyard where Ji Feiyu was. No matter what happens later, the two of you are not to leave this circle. Luo Qingtong instructed Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuancheng. She set up a formation in the middle of the lobby, which was reinforced with the power of inscriptions. Under the double superposition, it could make the blood curse power in their bodies appear when people touched it. Luo Qingtong couldn't guess what tricks Ji Yuankuan and Ji Fighting would play at the clan meeting. But she was sure that Ji Yuankuan and the others would definitely touch the blood curse power in Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuancheng's bodies. They would not give up their positions so easily. In that case, it was normal to attack Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuancheng. Luo Qingtong's blood pupil had yet to fully recover. If Ji Feiyu was alone, she would still be able to deal with him. However, with the addition of Ji Yuancheng, she was afraid that she would not be able to take care of him. That was why they were allowed to enter the formation. At that time, the formation would naturally ensure their safety. In this way, the power of the blood curse in their bodies would not be easily triggered. At the same time, it would make it easier for Luo Qingtong to find out who did it. Once it was dealt with, the blood curse in Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuancheng's bodies would be completely removed. When Luo Qingtong's words came out, Ji Yuancheng and Ji Feiyu both nodded in agreement. The injury on Ji Yuancheng's left hand had completely recovered. His essence, energy, spirit, and strength all rose by a level. The 1,000 silkworm thread that Luo Qingtong gave him was really too useful. He did not feel the slightest bit of stagnation in his strength. He only felt that his left hand had never been injured, nor had it been paralyzed for so many years. While the two of them were in position, Luo Qingtong was making other preparations. She never fought a battle that she was not confident in, and she never underestimated any enemy. Although she was almost certain that it was Ji Fighting and Ji Yuankuan who attacked Ji Feiyu and the others. Chapter 2998. She let Little Pig and Xiao Tuanzi out and let them watch over her in case anything went wrong. While Luo Qingtong was busy in Ji Feiyu's courtyard, in the cave in Ji Yuankuan's secret room, the huge ferocious statue was also flashing. Then, with a swoosh, an almost transparent aura suddenly rose from the statue's body. Then, it appeared outside the statue. Hee, it's been a long time since I came out to stretch my muscles. I heard that Ji Feiyu has a young girl by his side, and there's also a human martial realm expert by her side. Since that's the case, I'll also absorb the other party's profound qi. The transparent aura wriggled in the air and then quickly condensed into the same appearance as the statue. Then, it turned and disappeared into the air. At this time, in the courtyard, Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the others had already spent most of the night. The next day was the day that Ji Fighting and the others would hold the family meeting. Could it be that the other party actually intended to return the position of family head to Ji Feiyu and the others and did not intend to do anything? Luo Qingtong thought so and suddenly raised her eyebrows. At this time, boom! The array that Luo Qingtong made for Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuancheng suddenly moved. An invisible force hit the array formation and was blocked by the power of the array formation. Not only that, the inscription pattern inside also started to move. Buzz buzz buzz. Following the sound of movement, a blood-red pattern appeared above Ji Feiyu's head in an instant. Waves of suction force were continuously coming from the other side of the thread. If Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuancheng weren't in the array that Luo Qingtong drew, they would have been sucked dry. The scene of the soul blood curse flaring up was unexpectedly so violent. Suiyu, Li Shi, and the others watched with trepidation. Only now did they realize that Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuancheng had practically walked through a life and death situation. While her face was filled with shock, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly lit up, and her entire body flew up in an instant. He's here. Her voice was ice cold. Almost instantly, she flew above Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuancheng's heads. With a whoosh, she pointed her finger and lifted the blood-colored net that appeared above their heads. Then, she raised her hand and fiercely pulled it out. Come out. Luo Qingtong straightened the fingers of her left hand. With a boom, the blood curse power in Ji Yuanqing and Ji Feiyu's bodies was instantly pulled out by her. This action could be done when she first discovered the blood curse in Ji Feiyu's body. However, in order not to alert the enemy, Luo Qingtong only imprisoned the blood curse power in Ji Feiyu's body at that time and used the Yin soul pill to replace his soul power so that the blood curse power could absorb it. Now that she knew that the person who cast the curse had come personally, Luo Qingtong didn't need to be polite to the other party. If it weren't for the fact that the power of her blood eye hadn't fully recovered, she wouldn't have needed to deal with the other party for so long. She could directly open her blood eye and see where the blood-colored thread was spreading. Then, she would know who cast the curse on Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing. However, this wasn't a bad thing. Chapter 2999. With this thought in mind, Luo Qingtong suddenly flipped the fingers of her left hand and wrapped the power of the blood curse that had been pulled out around her palms several times. Then, with a bang, her palms suddenly pulled. In the void, a cloud of transparent fog was pulled out by her. You? The transparent fog's expression was surprised. It didn't expect that the power of the blood curse that it had placed on Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing would be broken so easily. How was this possible? It didn't feel anything at all just now. How could it know that Luo Qingtong had been feeding the power of the blood curse with the Yin soul pill? Of course, it didn't know that there was a problem with the blood curse. And Luo Qingtong's movements just now were extremely fast. When she was in Star City, she had already carefully checked the power of the blood curse in Ji Feiyu's body. She had long been familiar with how to break it. Therefore, when she did it, there was no obstruction at all. She easily pulled out the power of the blood curse. And when she pulled out the radish, she brought out the mud. The transparent fog that was absorbing Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing's soul power through the power of the blood curse was naturally pulled out as well. Its expression was stunned. Before it could react, it had already lost the opportunity. The blood curse in Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing's bodies had been removed. Even if it wanted to cast another curse, it wouldn't be able to succeed in a short period of time. Thinking that it was going to the family Ji at dawn to receive the power of the blood sacrifice of the entire family Ji, it thought that if someone disturbed the power of absorbing Ji Feiyu, there would definitely be a large amount of essence aura that would be wasted and couldn't be absorbed by it. At that time, it might lack some power and be unable to restore its true body. The transparent fog thought so and immediately flew into a rage. Bastard, how dare you ruin my good deed? B*TCH. The transparent fog's expression was furious. It looked at Luo Qingtong and already knew that she was the Luo Xiaoqi that Ji Fighting and Ji Yuankuan had told it about. After all, she was the only girl by Ji Feiyu's side. As for Sui Yu and the others, they knew about the transparent fog. Bastards, I'm going to suck all of your essence blood and yuan qi dry. I'll imprison all of your soul power as toys and puppets, so that you'll never be reincarnated. The transparent fog's heart was filled with hostility. Almost instantly, it rushed towards Luo Qingtong. It had a green face and sharp fangs. Its eyes were as big as copper bells, and there were 2 horns on its head. It looked like a human, but at the same time, it didn't look like a human. What is this? Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. She was also stunned when she saw the transparent mist being pulled out. She had thought that the person she had pulled out was either Ji Fighting or Ji Yuankuan. At the very least, it could be Ji Miao Miao. Who would have thought that in the end, it would turn out to be someone who looked like a monster but wasn't a monster? Fortunately, she did not act rashly before. Otherwise, the other party would have noticed that something was wrong and alerted the enemy. While Luo Qingtong was thinking about this, Little Pig, who was not far from her, saw this scene and cried out in surprise. Demon! It's actually a demon. And it's a pure-blooded demon. Oh my God, how could this kind of thing appear here? They shouldn't be here at all. Little Pig was shocked when he saw Chu Tianyi rush over, blocking in front of Luo Qingtong and blasting towards the demon. The power of 2LV9 human martial realm instantly tore through the sky. Chapter 3000. Oh, my God, this won't do, quick. Get out of the way. Its voice was sharp. You can't touch its power. There is. Before it could finish its words, the power of the two people had already collided. Bang! Chu Tiany's body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow in an instant. With a boom, he fell from the sky. His strength was already very close to the earth martial arts realm. At the same time, it was enhanced by his special bloodline. The real strength that he could display was extremely powerful, almost reaching the middle stage of the earth martial arts realm, level 4 or 5. But even so, when he came into contact with the power transmitted from the other party's body, he felt as if his power was being corroded and softened. With a boom, the other party broke through his defense line and directly blasted him. He looked surprised and didn't know what was going on. The opponent was obviously only at level 9 of the human martial arts realm. When Chu Tiany was thinking about this, his body had already fallen to the ground. And the Yin Demon King's body also fiercely retreated. Its body rolled, looking at Chu Tiany's direction, and it laughed sharply. Ha ha ha. Good, 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 I didn't expect you to have an expert at level 9 of the human martial arts realm. This is very good. Although I can't get Ji Feiyu's core vitality for the time being, I can get your profound qi, which is enough for me to accumulate enough strength to accept the blood sacrifice of family Ji. Ha ha ha. Its laughter was wild, and it was really very happy. With its current form and strength, it didn't dare to go to the higher level star area. Otherwise, if it was discovered, it would be devoured and killed in minutes. It was known that it was the soul of the demon clan, and its power was a great supplement for those who practiced the evil arts. Its power was comparable to that of countless evil ghosts and ghosts. But now, in front of it, there was a lone expert at level 9 of the human martial arts realm. What did this mean? It meant that it could easily kill and absorb the opponent's power. The recovery and help that the opponent brought to it was no different from Ji Feiyu's profound qi. It was even stronger than its own. The Yin Demon King laughed even louder as he thought of this. It ignored Luo Qingtong and flew towards Chu Tiany wholeheartedly. After killing this 9th level human martial realm cultivator, then killing all the people present will be enough. As for Ji Feiyu, he would naturally be saved for the next blood curse. With that thought in mind, the Yin Demon King once again flew towards Chu Tiany. Its body tumbled in midair, seemingly illusory. Chu Tiany, on the other hand, was sent flying to the ground. If it wasn't for his special physique, he would have been seriously injured and unable to move. However, even if his body was special and could withstand the other party's attacks, he still couldn't get up for a while. Seeing that the Yin Demon King was about to reach Chu Tiany, Yan Yang hastily ran over. Don't. She stood in front of Chu Tiany and opened her arms to protect Chu Tiany behind her. Yan Yang, go away. Chu Tiany finally regained his senses. Seeing this scene, he was so anxious that his eyes almost popped out. He raised his hand to push Yan Yang away. However, it was too late. The Yin Demon King was much faster than him. Chapter 3001. Kiki, what a pair of lovebirds that share life and death together. Since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. As it spoke, it clawed at Yan Yang and Chu Tiany, intending to pierce through their hearts. However, just as it raised its hand, in an instant, rip. In the sky, the sound of a sharp sword cutting through the air could be heard. In an instant, it rushed towards the Yin Demon King with a boom. Haha. The Yin Demon King felt the sharp aura behind him, but he didn't take it seriously at all. Among Luo Qingtong and the others, only this LV9 human martial realm cultivator was a slight threat to it. The others were all scrap metal that it could kill with a finger. The girl behind them, Luo Xiaoqi, might have some ability, but her strength wasn't even enough to fill the gaps between its teeth. After it killed the two people in front of it, it would deal with her. As it thought of this, it ignored the sword light that was slashing through the air. I have an invisible body. Do you think you can hurt me? It laughed heartily, looking extremely proud. Its hands didn't stop moving at all, and it didn't even look back. However, as soon as it finished speaking, its body was instantly split into pieces by a beam of sword light with a bang. Ah! The Demon King screamed in a shrill voice. It had just laughed, and its laughter hadn't stopped yet. When it mixed with its shrill screams, it was indescribably eerie. As it screamed, Luo Qingtong's voice also sounded faintly. Of course, I can. As she spoke, she shook the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand and rushed towards the Demon King again. After the latter's body was split into pieces, it reassembled again. However, it was obvious that its body was much thinner than before. The Demon King's face was filled with disbelief and fear. It looked at Luo Qingtong and couldn't help but scream, "This is impossible. How could you hurt me?" Its voice was sharp, but Luo Qingtong didn't care about it at all. Kill it while it's weak. It had just been injured by her attack, and now was the time for it to attack. She couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with it. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she immediately slashed her sword towards the Demon King. The latter already knew the power of Luo Qingtong's life and death yin-yang sword. Seeing the sword coming towards it, its body suddenly trembled, and it immediately dodged to the side. However, just as its body tilted to the side, a voice rang out. With a boom, Chu Tiany's attack arrived. The latter had already recovered a little. When he thought of the claw that the Devil King had slashed at him and Yen Yang, he was instantly filled with hostility. He directly attacked the Devil King. The pitiful Demon King had just dodged to the side, wanting to dodge Luo Qingtong's sword, but Chu Tiany's attack blasted it back to its original position. It even crashed towards Luo Qingtong's sword. Rip! Its body was once again split into pieces by Luo Qingtong. Bastard! The Demon King flew into a rage. After being slashed twice in a row, its body had become much dimmer. If this continued, it would definitely be destroyed by Luo Qingtong and Chu Tiany's joint attack. As it thought of this, it immediately wanted to retreat. It had been careless this time. It didn't know that Luo Qingtong could actually hurt it. It would wait until it absorbed the power of the people whose family Ji had been sacrificed, then it would come back to settle the score with them. Chapter 3002. Translations. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed when she saw this scene. You want to leave? The smile on her lips was ice cold. Are you dreaming? As soon as she said those words, she shouted sternly. Humph. The latter had been waiting for a long time, but he didn't make a move without Luo Qingtong's order. Luo Qingtong planned everything carefully before taking action. Even if the Demon King wasn't restrained by her life and death yin-yang sword, she wouldn't let him leave so easily. Otherwise, why would she release Little Pig and Tuanzi? Of course, it was to prepare for an emergency. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to stop them if something unexpected happened. From the looks of it, her arrangements were indeed correct. As soon as she finished speaking, Little Pig's figure instantly leaped up. With a boom, a huge claw descended from the sky and landed on the Demon King's body. The latter's body was already half invisible in midair. He was a soul to begin with. He didn't expect Chu Tiany to recover so quickly, so he was hit by the attack just now. Right now, all his attention was on Luo Qingtong and Chu Tiany. He was afraid that the two of them would seize the opportunity to strike him again. If that happened, he wouldn't be able to leave this place. However, just as he was thinking this, Little Pig's attack had already arrived. The Demon King didn't expect that there was something else that could hurt him besides Luo Qingtong and Chu Tiany. Moreover, it was a mini pig. He was about to go crazy. Looking at little pig's true god claw, he couldn't dodge at all. He was slapped down from the sky by little pig. Luo Qingtong's figure leaped up at this moment. Her long sword instantly shattered the sky. The dark black death blade's light flickered and split the Yin Demon King in half again in an instant. Ah! The Yin Demon King screamed sharply. He couldn't care less about anything else. Its body condensed again in midair, but it was extremely thin and weak. In midair, it was like a cloud of smoke, and any breeze could blow it away. After being slashed by Luo Qingtong's life and death Yin Yang sword 3 times in a row, the Yin Demon King couldn't reform his body. He came here arrogantly and complacently. He didn't put Luo Qingtong and the others in his eyes at all. Now, he realized how ridiculous his thoughts were. Even a pig by Luo Qingtong's side could deal with him. Not to mention, the long sword in her hand completely ignored its power and aura, and only hoped to slash its soul into pieces. The Yin Devil King had never met someone like Luo Qingtong. She actually used the power of a Saint Master to make it unable to fight back at all. Is she still a human? The Yin Demon King's strength was enough to deal with an Earth Martial Realm expert even if he didn't have a body and only had soul power. Not to mention that Chu Tianyi was beaten to such a state by him just now. However, he was completely restrained by Luo Qingtong. The Yin Demon King's body twisted in midair. He couldn't hold on any longer. In the blink of an eye, it turned into smoke and dispersed in all directions. Boom! The Yin Demon King's aura spread in all directions. He wanted to escape from the family Ji's courtyard. Ji Feiyu and the others were stunned by the strength displayed by Luo Qingtong, Chu Tianyi, and Little Pig. They quickly regained their senses and shouted, "Little Seven! Be careful!" Chapter 3003. Translations. Yen Yang picked up the white jade zither that had fallen to the ground in order to protect Chu Tianyi. Clang, clang, clang. Her 5 fingers strummed the strings. In an instant, a clear and pleasant sound came from the white jade zither. The sound of the zither sounded like clear spring water, but at the same time, it was sonorous and filled with murderous intent. The sound of the zither rose in spirals, and at the same time, it carried the meaning of Buddhism. It was actually the Sanskrit zither music. As soon as the music came out, the aura of the Yin Demon King's power dissipated in all directions. It was like snow meeting the sun, and it slowly melted in midair. This was because its power had been divided into many parts, and each part was not very strong. This was why Yen Yang was able to purify its power so easily. As the Yin Demon King's power was being purified and melted, with a swoosh, a ball of aura that looked no different from other auras penetrated the area controlled by Yen Yang's Sanskrit zither music, and rushed towards the sky above the family Ji's courtyard. Inside, there was a small round black pearl that was surrounded by the aura. At this moment, the Yin Demon King's sinister and terrifying face was twisted inside as she rushed forward. It was obvious that this was the core of its body. As long as this pearl was still there, the Yin Demon King would not die. Once it returned to the statue to recuperate and absorb the power of the blood sacrifice of the family Ji's people, it wanted Luo Qingtong and the others to die. It wanted them dead, no matter the cost. Its voice was sharp, and it screamed silently as it rushed out of the family Ji's courtyard. The ball of aura had already been hidden in the air. The Yin Demon King had dispersed all the aura and power in its body so that it could safely escape under the cover of its power and aura. However, just as it was about to break through the sky above the family Ji's courtyard and disappear into the void, with a swoosh, a sword light blocked its path. Boom! Luo Qingtong held the life and death Yin Yang sword horizontally. The side of the blade was facing the Yin Demon King. As long as the other party rushed over, they would definitely be split in half. The Yin Demon King let out a sharp shriek. It had no idea how Luo Qingtong had discovered it. There were so many auras, and he was completely invisible. Damn it, could this woman be a monster? The Yin Demon King was flustered and exasperated, but he didn't dare to force his way in. It had already experienced the power of Luo Qingtong's life and death yin-yang sword, which was especially effective against souls like it. Therefore, it hurriedly braked and rushed in another direction. However, as soon as it moved, Luo Qingtong seemed to have seen through its thoughts and movements. With a swoosh, she changed the life and death yin and yang sword in her hand again, from blocking to hacking. A ray of sword light instantly descended from the sky like a Milky Way. Boom! The demonic bead in the Yin Demon King's body was struck. In an instant, an incomparably mournful sound rang out, and countless amounts of demonic Yin aura rushed out of the demonic bead in an instant. No! No! This is impossible. The Yin Demon King's voice was shrill and struggling. It had never expected that Luo Qingtong would be able to see through its movements. Not only that, she knew it like the back of her hand. What was going on? Chapter 3004. However, when it said that, Luo Qingtong smiled faintly. Nothing is impossible. Don't you think so? Tuanzi. Thank you for just now. As soon as Luo Qingtong said that, with a whoosh, a round, furry little thing came out of her clothes. Who else could it be but Tuanzi? As a sector beast, Tuanzi was naturally able to control space. However, its ability was still weak, so it could only control the space around Luo Qingtong. When the Yin Demon King's body came out, Tuanzi immediately locked onto its position. Therefore, Luo Qingtong was able to successfully intercept the Yin Demon King before the power of her blood eye had fully recovered. However, even without Tuanzi's help, it would not be easy for the Yin Demon King to escape from Luo Qingtong. Although she could not use the power of her blood eye to see the other party's whereabouts, when the Yin Demon King cast the blood curse on Ji Feiyu, it left a certain connection. Previously, it was far away, so Luo Qingtong could not follow the connection to find it. However, now that it was right in front of her, if she could still let it escape, Luo Qingtong felt that she might as well write her name in reverse. When Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, the Yin Demon King also saw Tuanzi, who had rushed out of her arms, and instantly widened its eyes. Sector. Sector Beast? Its voice disappeared in all its unwillingness and regret. Until its death, it could not understand. With the treasures and power that Luo Qingtong possessed, she should be from an extremely advanced star zone. How could she appear in an 8-star zone and fight against it? After the Yin Demon King's aura disappeared, the demon bead also broke into pieces in an instant. Countless dense demonic aura was emitted from it, wildly spreading in all directions. The corrosive aura that was hidden in it instantly caused the expressions of the people around to change abruptly. Master, come over here quickly. Don't let those auras touch you. Yen Nyang was anxious and hurriedly said to Luo Qingtong. The latter's expression was indifferent as he shook his head. It's fine. You don't have to worry. As she spoke, she raised her hand and released the heavenly spirit with seed. The latter was already impatient in the storage ring in her hand. The Yin Demon fiendish energy within the Yin Demon King's body was constantly tempting it. The heavenly spirit with seed in Luo Qingtong's hand was a mutation of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. To it, the Yin soul chi was the best source of nourishment. The baleful Yin devil chi in the Yin Demon King's body was its origin devil chi. Because it was a pure-blooded devil clan member, the baleful Yin devil chi was not something that could be compared to ordinary Yin soul energy. In just an instant, the heavenly spirit with seed flew into the cloud of baleful Yin chi and absorbed all the baleful Yin chi. Boom boom boom. The baleful Yin devil chi was originally wreaking havoc in the surroundings. Without its master's control, this kind of baleful Yin devil chi would only become a huge disaster. If Luo Qingtong didn't use the heavenly spirit with seed to eliminate the baleful Yin devil chi, the baleful Yin devil chi that spread out would be enough to turn the entire Dongting region into a land of death. The entire Dongting region would be barren and desolate, with not even a blade of grass growing. This was the true terror of the Devil Clan's power. This was why Little Pig was so shocked when he saw the Een Demon King and discovered that it was a Devil Clan member. When Luo Qingtong finished off the Een Demon King, the sun was rising in the family Ji. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.